All right. Hello, Stuart. Welcome to our good podcast that we do.
That was about as professional as when I introduced it.
Oh my god, I forgot to turn off my
actually,
electric heater, so there's just a noise in the background. Let me turn that off now. I'm
hang on.
really good at
So we're
this.
live. Is this live?
We're
I
currently
can't tell.
live but unlisted, just to make sure that it's going well, and I will set us to public now because it does seem to look good.
Okay, so it seems to be working. Okay, I'll do the theme tune when we're live. Just tell me when we're live.
We're now live in public, so why don't you do the theme tune?
Oh, we're live in public. Okay. So the theme tune to Jay and Stu talks to. Yeah, okay. Na 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 na. It's Jay and Stu talk to Doctor Who.
Stuart, how do you feel?
Yay. I feel sad. Because I miss my nan.
Oh no. Okay, people are arriving now.
Well, the meme has started. I feel sad because I miss my nan. We were right about one thing. They didn't bother to ask Tosin Cole to come back.
I think they probably did ask him. Maybe he was busy. Like it seems strange that they would ask everyone else and not him.
I don't know. It just my favorite moment in the episode is where the Doctor says to Graham, "Where's Ryan?" and he just goes, "Patagonia."
But wait, hang on. What? Look, sorry. My favorite part of the episode was where it just cut, and then we had title text on the middle of the screen that said Ecuador, and I was like, "This is a Chibnall story."
It's like, I think he's realised that those are memes to the rest of us now.
Because he doesn't read internet stuff about him at all. That's a thing that's been established. Yeah, he said in interviews that he doesn't read any of that stuff.
Because when Graham said Ryan's in Patagonia, I just wanted it to cut to Patagonia, big yellow text, then it cuts to a scene with Ryan and say, "All right, I'm sad because my nan's dead."
And then it cuts back, and that's his entire involvement in the episode.
That's his entire scene. It'd be quite easy. Just go to wherever Tosin Cole is and set up a camera.
So, Stuart, the first thing that I think is pretty noticeable about this episode, like, we predicted this. We all knew it was going to happen. It was fairly overstuffed, wasn't it?
Yeah, there were lots and lots and lots of people in it, lots and lots of things.
Yeah.
I didn't understand most of those things, but there were so many things going on.
Do you think it would be funny if, like, as a joke, we just, like, really overstuffed this podcast?
Yeah, that's a good idea. Just, like, get thousands of people on all at once.
Yeah, if this podcast was just really full of people.
Hello, people.
Hello.
I am here.
I'm
a supporting character.
What is them? They've shown up right now.
We were watching Star Trek. What's happening?
It's almost planned that.
The other one.
I am a supporting character.
Hello, supporting characters.
I think I got lost.
No, I mean,
might be manifestations of your subconscious, Jay. Don't quote us on that though. That might not be right. We're kind of winging it at this point.
The initial goal here with everyone who we invited was to have people who definitely didn't need to be here, which is why specifically, Metal, I've invited you, and you have not seen any Doctor Who before this except for one story.
Yeah, the one we covered on my channel, the Seeds of Doom.
Yes.
Wow.
That's all I've seen.
Doom? That was his first episode, fucking Seeds of Doom.
It's good story.
I mean, it's an interesting starting point.
The title
kind of
sounds so
overrated.
fucking lame. The title sounds so fucking lame. Hey guys, I want to introduce you to this really cool show. The first episode I think we should watch is called The Seeds of Doom. The fucking
It's exactly
seeds.
what it sounds like, Blair. There's these seeds
they
grow and
it's literal. It's not it's not a metaphor like the seeds of doom are being sown in the winds of time or some shit.
Literal. I know it's literal, and there's like two of them. There's Seeds of Doom, Seeds of Death. The names.
Seeds of Death is completely different. That's the weird part.
Yeah,
that's a joke. I would recommend the first classic Doctor Who story people should watch is The Awakening.
I think the first classic story people should watch, and this is from someone who's barely seen any classic Who, is fucking Remembrance of the Daleks or fucking City of Death. And I've only seen
Time in the Rani, bro.
And I've only seen I think I've only seen 10. Yeah, I've only seen 10 minutes of Remembrance.
I remember City of Death was on the list you gave me, Jay.
Oh, it was on the list. So
yeah,
I just want to ask you first what you thought of this, having gone into it with basically no context other than pretty much just knowing what Doctor Who is.
I was very confused.
I mean,
I was like, "Oh, Cybermen, I heard of those before. Oh, the Master, I heard of that before. Oh, Daleks, yeah, I've known of these things. Oh, they're all together now."
Did you at least enjoy the pretty colours?
No.
Why not? The colour grading was actually quite decent this time round, which is a rarity.
It had like a cool, like, neat regeneration effect. There were like lightning bolts and shit. It was pretty.
That did look
cool. Wait a minute. Hold on. So are we saying that the person with absolutely zero background in Doctor Who, their experience of the show was also, oh, I remember that. I've heard of that.
Yes.
Which is basically everyone's experience, regardless of how much Doctor Who you know.
Well, like, I mean, Val, how was it for you when just like several times in the episode, some random old guy would show up and be like, "Hello," and then leave about 30 seconds later?
Yeah, I was like, oh, that was probably like a character from old episodes or something. Like, okay.
Shit, that was fucking
goodbye.
That was the guy from that episode in 1966. Holy shit! That was the woman from the episode in 1978. I remember her. Why? What? Oh wow! Well, look at all these old people. Don't you recognize them?
That's the guy from that one 8th Doctor novel from like 2002.
I mean, it would have been fucking based if they got. It would have been fucking based if they got some obscure character from extended media to just be like, "Hello," and then just leave.
That's the thing, though. Chibnall is the guy that made the Morbius Doctors canon, so he would do that.
Yeah, Morbius. Yeah.
Morbin time.
We already had a Morbius Doctor. It was Matt Smith.
Yeah.
He's the only Morbius Doctor I want.
It's Morbin time, and
I
then
got
he
that. I
morbed
just
all
got
over
that.
the place.
Yeah.
Slowly uptake.
I was having a conversation because my mum hasn't seen any of the current stuff, or like probably hasn't watched Doctor Who since I was like, a kid, like a young kid. She's like, oh, I might watch the last one, to see the changeover. Like, I wouldn't recommend it because, like, can you imagine that being your reintroduction? You'd be like,
wow.
Yeah.
You know what?
What the fuck is this shit?
There's only one recent series, like from recent years, that my mum watched with me all the way through, and it was series 11. And I'm so sad out of all of them, it was that one. But also, then again, that's probably the most accessible, to be fair.
I have been forcing my mom to finish the Jodie era. She does not want to watch it with me. But
Why would you do that?
Why would you do that? That's not nice.
It took 3 months of convincing her to finally get her to watch Eve of the Daleks, and then we watched Sea Devil episode, Legend of the Sea Devils, immediately after she was in.
And neither of those.
I think making a family member watch Legend of the Sea Devils, it counts as some form of abuse. To be honest, I don't know.
Do you not like your mother?
Well, yeah, I dragged her to see Power of the Doctor, and she sat through all 2 hours and 5 minutes of it, plus commercials, of course. Oh yeah, and every commercial break, I had to explain some obscure classic shit to her, like the Khalids. That's what the Daleks.
Oh my god, there
like.
was a Khalid reference in this.
Adric was one of the Doctor's companions with that Tegan person.
Oh my god, I've just
went back to 1963.
I've just realised what Doctor Who's turned into.
It's turned into
an
experience of explaining to an elderly relative with Alzheimer's what used to be happening in the past. Remember these old faces?
My grandmother has dementia. Luckily, she wasn't there to watch that shit.
Do you remember Peter Davison?
She actually watched.
Yes,
he was in All Creatures Great and Small. Do you remember that?
Man from the 80s.
Oh, do not show the Peter Davison scenes to Michelle. Do not.
She's seen them.
Oh my god, I've just seen someone in chat. I've just seen someone in chat say Chibin time is over, and I just think that's really funny. Like,
oh yeah, we're live.
Chibnall really chibbed all over the episode. That's what I mean.
Oh no,
he chibbed. I like it.
Don't do that.
So I think we're all here. It's important now. So let's go left to right. Just briefly, because we're going to be here a long time no matter what happens. How did you feel about the episode? Left to right, Blair, go.
It sucks. It sucks. It fucking sucks. It's an incoherent clusterfuck of dozens of different plot lines that barely have any time to breathe. There are so many interesting things in that episode, like the idea of a Frost regeneration, like the idea of bringing back old companions and having a little conflict with that, even though it's kind of a rehash of school reunion, like the idea of just a bunch of fucking ideas, and they were all squandered because they were mashed together in a short 90-minute time slot, and now all those cool concepts, you can't fucking do them again. You can't redo an episode now. So many cool things, like Ace's return. You know how many people were clamoring for Ace's return? Do you know how many different iterations and interpretations of Ace's return happened? And Ace's return, Ace's official canon return, was that shit? It pisses me off to no end. It's a 2 out of 10. I gave it on Letterboxd, but it's fucking garbage. Yeah.
All right, Vera, go.
Okay, so as an actual conclusion to Whittaker's era, it's an absolute failure. Nearly everything that has been built up and dropped in and that I was expecting some kind of payoff or to go literally anywhere, none of it's here. That having been said, if you're going to drop literally everything for the sake of basically a fireworks display and some good feelings, yeah, for me it did actually deliver that. I was at the end, like, if I'm looking at it as an episode unto itself, I would hesitate to call it good, but I honestly had a lot of fun. Is that nostalgia? Hell, yes, it is. Was it cheaply elicited nostalgia? Absolutely, but that doesn't mean that it didn't work on me. But if the instant I take a bigger view and realize like how many dropped plot lines, how many major things that happened over the era that just never got any payoff, it's a disaster. So what I actually like this as a finale for an era. I just wish it was for an era that worked. I would kind of want to take this finale and stick it onto a complete revamp of everything that came before.
Yeah, I totally understand.
Yeah,
all that.
Just do the whole era again, but better.
Yeah.
All right, George, go.
Okay, so yeah, this is exactly what I was worried about because, like, you know what, I actually did quite enjoy it, but I have a feeling that over the course of this stream, I'm gonna get battered over the head for why that should be a guilty pleasure. Like, am I gonna sit here and act like it was like surprisingly super well written? No, but the thing is, it's like it was like for the most part just sheer dumb fun. I'm someone who can have sheer dumb fun and like not take things seriously. And again, I can acknowledge that there were plenty of flaws there. I'm never ever going to try and deny that. But what we did get were things were enjoyed. And you know what? I can put all of that aside because the main thing that I'm super happy about, and I was really nervous that this wouldn't happen, was that Jodie got like some final scenes and like final scenes of the episode and like a regeneration scene and a final line that, in my opinion at least, did her justice. Because with how like rocky and inconsistent this era is, it's been really unfair having to see her like force her way through trying to deliver with really subpar material, and I was really worried that her doctor just wouldn't get the send-off that I at least think she deserves. So honestly, with all the problems that this episode had, and they definitely are there, I'm just glad that she got a send-off, at least in my opinion, that did her justice. So that's what's got me really happy personally.
Alrighty.
I hate you.
So I will go next, and I think there were like 5 to 10 minutes of stuff in there that I was like, that was neat, that was cool, that was good. I particularly liked Kate Stewart's scheme, for example, to try and deal with to try and trick the Cybermen in unit to taking her and letting everyone else go. I thought that was a nice. That's the kind of thing that I wanted to see from her in a previous. What's the word I'm looking for? Someone help. What's the word? Her previous appearance. Why did I forget that word?
Yeah.
Where instead of in Survivors of the Flux, she just angrily shouted at Big Snake Man and basically just revealed all her cards, which isn't really the kind of thing that she does. So it was nice to see her in character and, stuff like that. And we had, a few moments with that, some of which involved previous Doctors and some of which involved previous companions. The ending that the companions got, just to be clear, the ending that classic companions got was nice, and I appreciated it. And yeah, all of that stuff that I'm happily going to praise makes up about 5 to 10 minutes of the episode. the rest is like just a fucking mess. Like, it doesn't flow. Plot points are like, you can just take any individual plot point and ask questions about it, and then you're like, okay, that doesn't seem to work. Wait, no, why is it like that? There's so much stuff that could have been expanded upon, wasn't. Concepts that are just sort of that are really interesting concepts to explore, but are just used to sort of set something up and then are forgotten about. Stuff that could be expanded to be the entire episode that gets used to just throw something, set something up and then be thrown away and be discarded. Stuff that didn't need to be there at all, and just, yeah, it's a mess.
Apologies to disrupt the flow, but someone in chat just said Bradley Walsh lives in a volcano, and I think that absolutely should be the main takeaway from this story.
Yeah, I agree with that totally.
To be clear, not Graham, Bradley Walsh.
Yes, Bradley Walsh. Hosting the chase from Mount Vesuvius.
Hosting the chase from Vesuvius, yeah.
All right, Mattel, you've already said how confusing it was for you, but is there anything else you want to add?
I mean, I had no idea what the hell was going on. It was like, oh, we're going here. Now we're going back in time. Now we're going back forward in time. I don't know how the mechanics here work. Does it? Probably not. Why are we in a volcano? Why is there a random old man in the volcano that's here with his papers that change or something? I'm just all these things that went in my face, and I was like, I don't know what's going on.
See, Mattel, the whole experience of this is like the same for. It's like everything that you just described. It was like the same for me, except I know the old man's name. Like,
I had to stop. I was like, was he in this episode before? Like, was he in the episode before? And I was like, no, he wasn't. He's just here now.
Who's that man?
Who's that old man? Who's that new old man?
Which
on top of the other old people?
Is he from?
Who's that one?
Sorry, I'm just imagining, you know, the bit at like the end, like the beginning, at the end of Pokemon episodes. We're like, who's that Pokemon? Who's that old man?
Who's that Doctor Who reference?
Russell should do that for the next season. Who's that classic Doctor Who companion?
No.
Well, there's just instead of a next time trailer, it's a blacked out silhouette of the next returning villain or character.
There's just like a little goofy little trivia thing at the end for like the
and they can put a
fans
QR code on the screen and you can scan it and it takes you to their TARDIS wiki page.
I think Russell in his next era should host yet another competition to create a monster and have Channel Pup win it again just to piss everyone off.
Oh, that'd be funny, yeah.
By the way, if you hear me making like exclamation noises or whatever, I'm playing GTA Online right now, and so every time you hear me say you hear like "woo," like just 'cause I'm fucking doing a good job.
And if you hear bangs on my end, it's not because there's a gunfight in my neighborhood. It's because people in my neighborhood are setting off fireworks for some reason. So apologies if you hear that.
What? It's October 24th.
I have no idea. I have no idea,
concept of time anymore. I don't.
Yeah.
I have no idea, dude. I couldn't tell you.
And if you hear pieces of cardboard being moved, it's because I'm doing a jigsaw puzzle while talking.
I have 2 monitors and I have ADHD. So
and if you hear someone sat completely still, silently, that will be me. So just so you know that, just thought I'd get that out of the way.
Oh, that explains what that was. God, it's definitely.
Yeah, I know.
All right.
But yeah, to conclude, it was a mess. I had a hard time understanding how this whole plan even went together. It was like, I guess he made that happen. Okay. Yeah, sure. I couldn't believe they actually played the song. I was like,
just a rip off of the I Can't Decide scene. Why was he Rasputin?
It was very much the I Can't Decide scene, wasn't it?
Why did he go back to 19?
Because history.
Nothing stands up to just question. Why was he Rasputin? The only through line I can think of is, hey, you know the Master? He wears disguises.
Yeah, but like that's the weird thing though. Is Rasputin literally the Master, or was the Master in disguise as Rasputin? If it's the latter, then where the fuck is the real Rasputin?
I kind of like that being ambiguous, to be honest.
Do you reckon that the master
his full name George? George, from now on in this podcast, whenever anyone says Rasputin, they have to call him Rasputin.
Well,
of course.
I mean, the
specifically
doctor
Boney M. Rasputin.
Yes, his full name is Rasputin. First name second name Rasputin.
It was a line about how it was the master disguised as Rasputin because the doctor recognized him as the master.
Oh, that's true. Oh, to be fair, maybe she just never seen Rasputin before. Like,
do you reckon?
I don't believe that.
Sorry, do you reckon?
Like 3,500. No, you go first.
Sorry. I just wanted to ask. It's a stupid joke anyway. I was just going to ask. Do you reckon that the master just wanted to slam some Russian monarchy puss? Because we all know that's what Rasputin was doing. So that is a literal possibility. That is canon.
I mean, last time he played like pop music in a finale, he was horny. So maybe. Yeah, sure.
Here's my personal theory on this. So meta explanation. It's literally just for the song and for the joke. That's the reason. But honestly, I could actually buy Dewan's master doing all of this just for an excuse to disco dance to that song.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I agree. I can accept that.
You gotta appreciate that he used his advanced technology, he has access to just put up RGB lights, so he can have disco lights in 1916, 1912, whatever it was.
I kind of love that.
All right.
Are we gonna dive into?
Well, I mean, we're gonna dive into things first, but first we need to get to the end of the line. Stuart.
Oh yeah. Right.
What were your thoughts on the episode as a whole?
Well, I was expecting to be annoyed at it. I was expecting to either be annoyed at it or bored by it. So what you know, Jay, is that I decided to make my own fun, and we wrote it together, didn't we?
We did.
We did a couple of streams where I opened a script document and we started writing it. And I was playing throughout this episode Spot the Thing That We Got Right. And we got a surprising amount of it right. I'm looking at the script right now. In the Tegan and Ace meet the Doctor again scene, we have got Tegan, not even a phone call. She says that in this episode.
Woo!
And later when the Fifth Doctor and Tegan are talking again, Tegan goes, "You know what Cybermen make me think of? Adric."
that genuinely is. Yeah, and we wrote that as a joke.
There's so much what we got right, and I had fun with this episode. I don't even know what I think of this episode because I was just playing Spot the Thing That We Got Right. And also, 1 year ago, when Russell got announced as the new showrunner, I said in a video, it's like everyone expects Russell to come back and Jodie to regenerate back into David Tennant. And what happened?
Remember.
This is why I have positive feelings towards this episode, because it makes me feel like a genuine prophet.
I think I said the same thing in a conversation with Livy Cynical Who. We talked about, and I said that she'd be really upset if the Doctor regenerated into David Tennant. And as soon as it got announced, I DM'd her, letting her know.
Well, like loads of people are probably like, there's got to be like just a subset of people who are furious about this. Because like, it's not just some like random actor who they maybe don't like. Where it's like, oh, they already know what the performance is going to be like, and if you don't like his Doctor, this is just like, oh fuck's sake.
Yeah,
so here's the thing:
not like
people.
The 10th Doctor.
People predicted that I was going to be furious about this because I have a video from like 4 years ago doing a list of 4 things Doctor Who should never do, and number 1 on that was do not bring back a previous actor to play the Doctor.
I remember that.
Isn't that still like your most popular video even now?
It's up. No, it's not the most popular because the most popular is 5 things Doctor Who needs to stop doing. So this was like a
good video. That was a good video.
But here's the thing: I am currently in a little bit of a holding pattern on that. Because, and this is actually something that I enjoy just generally, when I think there's no way something can work, but then it is handled by people who approach things in a way that I can't account for, and it makes me go, oh, maybe it can. Now, I'm not sure it does work yet, but depending on how these specials end up being, I may not, I'm always going to be a little bit ticked that's kind of like the precedent's been set that it's okay to do that. Like, I'll never really like that. But I'm not raging mad, partially because I I'm in a holding pattern until I see how is this going to be handled, because the way the regeneration was done really did seem to emphasize the idea that this should not have happened and something's wrong, and putting that as a focus as opposed to an idea of, see, it's totally normal to turn into an old face. I might actually end up being okay with this by the time it's done, depending on the specials.
See, like a weird thing that I have about the return of David Tennant, spoilers, as to the role of the Doctor, just full on main. He's back. He is the Doctor again. Is that he's already got so many bangers under his belt. It would almost be nice to just like give it to someone who doesn't have as many. You know, I'm thinking. So like give it to 8 or 6, right? Who have either both very short eras that had some production problems. And I don't think Colin. I
agree,
but that wouldn't be as marketable.
Yeah, exactly.
But like you wouldn't get that pop of the audience. Like if you were going to recast anyone as from the publicity perspective, there's no choice other than Tennant.
Yeah, so that's
it's where the publicity crashes with the narrative.
He still looks exactly the same, so you can get it done.
That would be something that the show could only do if it was in a really, really healthy place. Is bring back like Paul McGann as the main Doctor again, or bring back Colin Baker as the main Doctor again.
Which I would love, but the show is not in that position.
No, it's not particularly healthy at the minute.
You know what's interesting? I'm seeing a lot of like debate and discussion as to whether this new Doctor is like literally a new Doctor but with Tennant's face, or if like he's just degenerated literally back into 10. But the thing is, like, overall it doesn't really matter, does it? Because like it's still his face and he'll still remember being 10. So either way, it's practically the same.
It depends if he's characterized in the same way as 10 was.
Yeah,
it's interesting though, because the dialogue seems to suggest that he's confused by who he is. So I'm not 100%. I think like there's something going on there additionally than just it's the 10th Doctor again. I don't know. I think there's more layers to that.
So we also have
what I mean when I say I'm in a holding pattern on it, because Davies has said like he's now referring to Ncuti Gatwa as the 15th Doctor. So everyone's like, oh, so Tennant's now the 14th, and I will be annoyed with that if we get to the specials and it's basically just it's the 10th Doctor again. But if there are enough distinctions in the characterization, I could be okay with that. But again, like my opinion of this regeneration, I don't hate it on his face like I expected to, but it is really heavily dependent on how this pans out.
I also just think that in terms of like the numbering thing, I just don't trust anything that comes out of Russell T Davis's mouth at this stage. Genuinely, because the guy, I mean it in the best way. He's managed to find a way of like getting people excited for Doctor Who whilst also just like fucking with us, basically. And I was watching this clip. It was on Twitter. It was back when Stolen Earth Journey's End was broadcasting. And it was before Journey's End, and he said, I have no idea who's David's going to turn into next episode. I have no clue. And it's like, he knows what he's doing. I think he's playing a bigger game with that, I think, than we think. But yeah.
It tripped me up because obviously we saw Ncuti in that teaser, so part of me wonders if there's going to be like an element of like switching back and forth, like because obviously we had the force regeneration thing. I'm wondering if like that, or at least the explanation would be that caused some kind of error, and he was like meant to regenerate into Ncuti, but because of like the whole thing with the past Doctors, like in the Doctor's like mind palace, like if someone got like flipped around or whatever, like I don't know. I feel like there's going to be some sort of weird explanation for it. It's definitely like you said, it's not going to be like at face value. There's going to be more to it. Definitely.
Yeah. Like that one tiny moment that we got with Ncuti Gatwa in like the 15-second teaser, he looks like he's in that same space.
Yeah, he is.
Also,
I like to think he is as well. I like to think that's going to be the other way that other Doctors are included in the 60th.
Also, I can't believe that the first appearance of the new Doctor was in a fucking trailer.
Yeah, that felt weird. I'm glad that didn't just feel weird to me. Because that's never happened before. It's never been that we've seen trailer footage of a Doctor before we've seen a...
imagine if War Games comes out, and then immediately after there's a trailer and fucking John Pertwee's he's a...
I was more weirded out by the fact that her clothes regenerate.
I assume, because the thing is, Tennant reacts to that. He like looks and he's like, what? It's like, it's kind of subtle.
I think it's because I think it's because he looked weird in Jodie's clothes, and that would kind of like.
We got robbed.
I mean,
we got
robbed.
No, I think it's probably part of the plot because he does react to it.
Yeah, I do too. Because not only did they regenerate into technically not the correct clothes. That's not accurate to any of his previous outfits. So yeah, I think this is something that's going to factor into why this isn't right.
I have a feeling like what it could be, because obviously it is a centenary, so they're going to hone in a lot of references. Do you think it could be like a reference to how like when the first Doctor regenerated into a second, like his clothes changed as well? Could it be like a reference to that maybe?
I think it'll be something to do with the toy maker, because someone brought up this point on. I was watching a video. I don't know who brought it up. But
is it definitely the toy maker? Is that confirmed, Mr. Lee?
It's very likely the toy maker,
but it's highly likely. There's billboards of like the greatest toy maker of all time. So it's like basically as close to being the toy maker, without being officially confirmed. If you catch my drift.
My God, they're bringing back the toy maker in the 60th anniversary. So that means that someone has secretly found the episodes 1 to 3 of the Celestial Toy Maker. Because that is how this works.
What I'm thinking was, and any classic Who people in the chat can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think an idea for the first regeneration of was that they were going to do it so that the toy maker played about with his body somehow and made it so that that's how he regenerated. So I'm wondering if they're doing that, but on a bigger scale and using the template of a past face to create this new incarnation as kind of like just to fuck with the Doctor.
That could be interesting, because a lot of people are already theorizing that like in these 60th anniversary specials that it is the result of some fuckery with the toy maker, aren't they? They're already like theorizing.
I think it's fairly safe to say that it is. But anyway, before we get too carried away with this, we do need to finish the line now. Fairies.
I'm so sorry.
Fairies.
So sorry.
What did you think of the episode? And during the start of what you say, I'm going to go to pee because I need to do that.
Wow, you leave for my segment. Okay. No, I'm joking. No, yeah, so I'm sort of in the line of thinking of the likes of Vera and George, in that I wasn't expecting this to be, this. I wasn't expecting anything particularly deep or complex, or, sort of, even just like, dialogue-wise, I wasn't expecting anything spectacular. Basically, what I'm trying to get at is, like, as someone who's not really liked The Timeless Child and hasn't really cared for the likes of Ryan and stuff, something I liked about this episode, which I actually think other episodes of the Chibnall era don't do very well, is like it knew which bits weren't important to the story it wanted to tell to some degree. Because like Dan, for example, gets dropped off within the first 10 minutes, which actually I think really benefited it. And I think Dan is one of those companions, because of his short time, didn't really need a long ceremonious farewell. Yeah. I thought that in terms of I thought like the classic stuff was surprisingly well handled for what it was. Is the dialogue a bit clunky in places? Absolutely. Is the plot kind of a bit thin and sort of just there to like elicit the most fan moments? Sure. Did I enjoy it for that? Absolutely. I think I would be annoyed at it if I was like a big fan of the arcs of this era, say for example The Timeless Child, and like that didn't, the fact that didn't get resolved, for instance, would be, annoying to me. But because I wasn't, I was just kind of glad that got sort of quietly shuffled into the corner so we could focus on things that, in my opinion, made a more enjoyable experience. So yeah, overall, this is to basically say it was in no way perfect, but I enjoyed my time with it, and I've rewatched it since, and you could definitely find flaws in it pretty easily, but I still had fun even my second viewing. It's a very breezy watch. I just wish that it had more time to spend on certain things. Because,
I totally think it's the right idea to just ditch all of The Timeless Child and all of this stuff, which is
well, it spends so much time on stuff that doesn't need to be in the story at all. Like, I think, okay, so what would we lose if we cut the Daleks out of this episode?
Nothing.
That's something I wanted to bring up too. Yep, that's also something I wanted to bring up.
Yeah, what were they doing? Someone explain it to me, because I didn't get it.
They were mining,
excavating the volcano.
They were trying to like destroy the Earth with the volcano.
They were trying to disrupt they were trying to disrupt volcanic shit in a way so they'd like all like have like a super eruption and flood the world with lava, which I'm not even sure would be physically possible. But I mean, hey,
because I thought for a minute they were doing a Dalek invasion of Earth thing and like trying to pilot the Earth or something.
Why can't they like build a bomb in the Earth's crust and then just detonate it? Why can't they just go back in time, build a bomb?
Because they don't have hands.
They can like be teamed up with the Master. The Master has a TARDIS. Can't just go back 5,000 years and plant something and wait for it to blow up, like the cluster from Steven Universe.
You can dismantle literally every plot of every Doctor Who story ever if you start going down that rabbit hole. We have
to assume that with the Daleks do generally have access to time travel. An assumption generally has to be made that they would break time in a way that they're not happy with if they did certain things, because otherwise they would just go to the beginning of time and kill everyone. Like that's
true, because that's the same blanket explanation we have for why the Doctor or the Time Lords don't fix all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I've always assumed with like Dalek time travel in particular, I think in like the Davies era they do this quite well, where it's kind of shown to be a bit more rudimentary than the likes of say the Time Lord like stuff, so they can like shift occasionally, you know, in like moments of emergency and stuff, but they don't have the precision of it as like the Doctor or the TARDIS would, for example.
Yes.
Which is why, you know, like,
and let's not talk about the chase.
But like the chase is just, you know, that's its whole other thing, you know.
To sort of circle back to what got brought up earlier, like as someone who I never liked the Timeless Child stuff. I didn't like any of it. I thought they were terrible ideas. I did actually, out of morbid curiosity, want to see where the hell Chibnall was going with that. And I honestly, as much as I, for entertainment purposes, would still rather have what we got, part of me is always going to kind of wonder, what was it that you intended to do? Because I have zero doubt he wasn't allowed to do it for probably a multitude of reasons, be it COVID restrictions on shooting, shortened series, episode counts, possibly, we don't have confirmation on this, but possibly being pressured to drop out of the post behind the scenes. I don't know, but I have no doubt that for whatever reason, he did not get the chance to do whatever he had planned to do with that. And I'm always going to kind of wonder, all right, what was it that you did this thing for?
I don't know.
Because I really annoys me.
I hate it so much that I still much rather he drop it for this.
Yeah,
that's the thing, innit? Because it's like, hang on, I'm so sorry, Blair, but it's like, it's like obviously like I'm with Vera on that. Like I absolutely hated the Timeless Child and everything like to do with it, but like, and same as you, I'd much rather have had what we got. I think that this story was so much better for leaving that stuff out. But like you look back on this era as a whole, and it's like you introduced this thing that kind of shattered the lore, and like so many people didn't like and was really divisive. And now we've gotten to the end of that era that we thought would wrap it all up. It's kind of gotten to a point like, you know, what was it all for? What was the point? What did it accomplish?
I kind of want to introduce a concept here. I kind of want to introduce the notion that I'm starting to suspect that maybe the Timeless Children, followed by Revolution of the Daleks and the sort of character, the identity crisis that the Doctor goes through in those two episodes, is supposed to be what is the substance. That I think that might be what we were getting from that.
I would say, as well as Flux, I would say.
Oh yeah, because in Flux we meet Tecta Yoon again, and she comes back as a villain. I think that might be it,
don't we?
Yeah.
So I guess
think it might be.
I think the
end of that arc is supposed to. Yeah, I think the end of that arc is supposed to be her putting the watch away. But the thing is, that could have worked, right? But it's the fact that they have her say, "Oh, you know, keep this somewhere safe." Unless I really need it.
Yeah.
Wink,
and she said that when they knew that they weren't going to do anything with it again. So I think that was just.
It was for future writers to use.
Can you imagine if like Russell fully picks it back up and his old hero is Timeless Child 2? Can you imagine?
I don't like that idea though of leaving your story half baked for someone else to deal with.
No.
I don't think that's really.
I genuinely think that what is happening here is that a lot of people are concluding that the arc can't have been finished just because what we got was so immensely unsatisfying. But I think it might be. I think it might be the planned conclusion.
I want to refute you I want to refute you so much because I want to give any longtime professional TV writer more credit than that, but it's Chibnall, so I can't. I have to accept that is at least a possibility that was all there is.
Honestly,
and I hate that.
The stanza feels more like a plot point that was dropped out of nowhere than this. It does. Well, they set up so much stuff in the Ghost Monument that just never came up.
All they did with it was just that one fucking guy,
Yeah, they tried to do stuff with the Timeless Children stuff.
I would have really admired and respected the sheer balls of, like, if the Stenza were the big villain of this final story.
I would have loved that.
I would have loved that too. That would have been really cool, actually.
I want to say this about something though. I do kind of feel sorry for the people who have clicked with what this era has done. Because imagine, right? Bear with me for a second. So imagine you join this show as a fan of this era, right? So you watch Series 11, you watch Series 12, you're like, oh, I quite like the Timeless Child. Because there are people out there. I'm not one of them, but there are people out there. Imagine then, maybe you start noticing the whole Thasman stuff that gets introduced in Series 13. And then imagine the final episode of that, all the things that you care about basically have no attention given. And most of the runtime is dedicated to characters that you don't know, that haven't been established at all. And everyone else seems to love it, and you're just sat there like, what?
Like, I still think it was...
Especially...
Who cares about those people? They're terrible.
I still think of the era.
Wow. Especially when...
I still think it was a mistake killing Tecteun during Flux. You'd really think that they would have saved her for this, right? You'd really think she'd have ended up...
Let's talk about Yaz's departure. Because she's the character that those people would have cared about most, right?
Look, I had things to say about I had two things to say that kind of got lost in the sauce.
You say your saucy things.
Fine then. Well, the first was the finale was essentially made. The finale to Jodie's era wasn't even made for fans of Jodie's era. It was made for other people's era that know what.
Yeah. That if you're a fan of Jodie's era, you want to see Ace and Seven again.
Yeah. And the second thing is, remember Chibnall's 5-year plan that everyone was talking about like a couple years back? So
well, anyway, it has been 5 years.
Yeah, let's review this 5-year plan and see just how it's gone. Year 1, 2018, do a self-contained season with no arcs. Year 2, do nothing. Year 3. Year 3.
I only just got why you said do nothing. That took me a second. It was like, yeah.
Year 3, introduce some canon-breaking bullshit, and also have more bad episodes. Bring back some familiar faces. Year 4, smorgasbord of stuff. Throw it at the wall. Also, remember that big canon-breaking bullshit, that huge arc we were building up to? We're not doing anything with that. We're just gonna throw it away.
Because everybody hated it.
They did do stuff with it, though. They referenced it so much, but there wasn't anything that felt conclusive.
Yeah, but Jay, they also referenced Logopolis and Survival.
I'll tell you what it feels like. Right.
Last time I saw you, you were a cat.
Imagine ordering a steak at a restaurant, and you get to it, like, occasionally you'll smell the wafts of the steak coming out of the kitchen, but the steak itself just never arrived. So what you're left with is basically the smell. I don't know whether that makes sense as an analogy.
It does arrive, but it's not a steak, it's a pork chop.
Yes, but the person who is expecting the steak to arrive is also a terrible person who was awful and doesn't deserve anything nice. So,
Stuart, are you okay?
I'm just saying.
You do get the steak, but your waiter is blue-haired with pronouns.
Stuart, are you trying to get Stuart, are you trying to get private quote tweeted? George, you also trying to get private quote tweeted? Is that what's going on?
Yes. Yeah, I'm trying to avoid private quote tweeting.
Well, that's how to drive engagement these days, isn't it?
I mean, I just
stir the pot. Should we? So, speaking of stirring the pot, should we talk about how the Doctor's ultimate plan is to get the universe to cancel the Doctor?
Oh my god! Yaz said the words "not my doctor" in this episode.
Yaz is an
Oh, yeah.
NMD.
You're not my doctor. Yeah.
Do you reckon that was a deliberate reference? Do you reckon
I
that
don't
was
know.
on purpose?
It could be. She says it twice.
I would rate the shit out of that if it was. That would be amazing.
I know we were going to talk about Yaz's departure. I want to briefly
I didn't even get to year 5.
I want to briefly I want to briefly steer back to that because like that exit is so weird, right? Because they have like a lot of the moments that you'd kind of expect. Like you have, it's very Parting of the Ways. They're very much playing on that. It's like a role reversal of Parting of the Ways, where she's carrying the Doctor back to the TARDIS and she drops on the floor. It's like, oh, I've dropped everyone off now. Which, by the way, what? Did we not get a goodbye? Okay, but beyond that. So you've got this little Parting of the Ways set up. She starts regenerating. They cry. It's like, okay, we'll go and sit on the TARDIS and have this nice moment and stuff. And then she just goes, the Doctor just goes, oh, I need to do this next bit alone. And then Yaz just gets dropped off.
Well,
So, like, what annoyed me about it is that Yaz has absolutely no agency in her exit.
Well, no, she has no reason to leave either. Like, it's not like... I have nothing on why the Doctor feels that she needs to regenerate on her own. The Doctor has never pushed people away before for this.
Obviously, like, it's because Mandeep Gill is leaving, so they had to give her some kind of exit, but it doesn't come across weird because there was no, like...
There's no reason.
There was no, like, real inciting reason behind it.
So, yeah.
If anything, it'd be more believable that Yaz would stay with
it goes sort of like... It goes sort of... Okay, it goes sort of... Doctor, I've saved you from the stuff. Thank you. Go away. Okay.
Okay. Hold up. Everybody hold up.
Also, Harry, before... Sorry, Vera, can I hold you for a second? We're getting echoes from someone's mic, so... Whoever is that...
That was me. My phone was by the mic again. I'm sorry. We talked about this earlier. We talked about this earlier. Right. Sorry.
I'm going to be the one person who will defend Yaz's exit. And before I do that, I will preface it as also pointing out, if anyone didn't already know, I'm also the one person who defends that scene at the end of Can You Hear Me? So that's who you're listening to and dealing with right now.
No. Someone who's incorrect. No,
here is the basis. Here is my basis. And I do not require anyone else to agree with me, but this is why I liked it and thought it was all right. Firstly, I enjoyed how low-key it was. I loved seeing them just sitting there eating ice cream, having a quiet moment. That was in such contrast to how melodramatic and overblown nearly every other exit was. Somebody brought up agency. Nearly no companion in this entire modern era run has had agency in their exit. They've almost always been forced by circumstance, so I reject that outright. Now, as for the Doctor saying, I need to do this alone, Jay, you're right. Pretty much no other Doctor has done that, but I do believe Jodie's would. Part of her entire thing, and this is actually part of why I don't really connect with her as the Doctor, is being incredibly closed off, being way less open than any Doctor, certainly of the modern era, has been, and she just doesn't let people in. If any Doctor was going to say... let me do this by myself, it's going to be her.
I agree that it's not. I want to say I agree that it's not out of character. It's not. I agree that it's not out of character for the 13th Doctor to do that. However, that's sort of been like that's always been like the. It's always been the acknowledged flaw of the 13th Doctor, right? It's been acknowledged several times. You're so closed off. Let me in. That's like. Her final moment, her final act with that has any consequences is to fall back on that floor and be like, "Go away. I'm gonna be closed off now." I know that I have no reason to push you away, but I'm going to anyway. That's my character. Even though it is her character, it's like, okay, fuck you. That's a shit decision.
Yeah. Also,
I'd like to bring sorry, Blair, to cut you off.
Flux and the specials, they all brought attention to the fact that the Doctor closes herself off from Yaz and lies to Yaz about her issues. Like that was a reoccurring thing that the two would argue about. And the final moment of the show is just her doing it again after they seem to be setting up some kind of arc. Like literally in the episode when she got the message from the Daleks, Yaz was like, "You have to tell me what's going on, mate," and nice
Sheffield impression.
Clearly, that was meant to. seem to be intent on setting up, that she'd be more open with Yaz in the future, but
if I can offer, if I may offer a thing on this.
Can I just? Oh yeah, you go on, George.
Because
this
episode does kind of give Yaz a bit of agency, though. That's the weird thing. That's the weird thing about it. There was that scene where the Doctor gets kidnapped, and then Yaz takes out these notes, and it shows that she's been learning how to fly the TARDIS.
I liked that.
It gives Yaz a bit more agency, which is quite nice. And
if I can offer a perspective on Yaz's exit, I personally wouldn't even say it's out of character for the Doctor. I personally say it's out of character for Yaz personally, because it's we know that she's head over heels in love with the Doctor. We know that she wants to be with her, wants to stay with her. I would have thought it'd be more in character for Yaz to want to see the Doctor through a big change of that. I mean, we know that it's 13 that she's head over heels for, but I would have thought that Yaz's whole mission statement would be no, it's you and me in this for the long haul. I'm going to be with you, and that would end up resolving the arc of 13 constantly trying to push her away by being you know what, yeah. Come on, let's do this.
I also want to say, when I brought up companion agency in regards to Yaz's exit specifically, I think the reason why her having no ultimate choice over that exit bothers me is because it's been hammered in so much that a core component of this whole arc between these two is, you've got to let me, as people have said, you got to let me in, you've got to let me be involved in these things.
Yeah.
So to have her final act specifically, it would be, the equivalent to me would be if, say, Martha Jones, for example, she didn't leave of her own accord. It would be if Ten was oh, the Master's done something to me where I have to die now. Bye, Martha. It's that runs counter to the entire arc of Martha Jones, who was the character who was actually, I kind of want you to take me a bit more seriously. It's not the same quite with Yaz, but I still think that for the character that Yaz was, her just not getting any choice over that exit bothers me.
The thing, what makes it worse? What makes it worse is the fact that Ace and Tegan, specifically Tegan, were mad at the Doctor for abandoning them.
Yeah.
And her final act, right after those problems were addressed to her, was to abandon another.
Exactly. It was it was setting up a resolution to that sort of thing, but it didn't really get realized. Again, I don't think it's the Doctor that was out of character. I think it was Yaz.
Yaz needed to either decide to leave.
The resolution.
Yaz needed to either decide to leave or die. Though she can't have just been pushed away. Honestly, what I would have liked to see from her is to have her in a similar situation to Dan, have a near brush with death and think, I love the Doctor, but I don't want to die though, and have that conflict being within her character for the adventure, and then realizing when the Doctor is about to regenerate that she's going to turn into a different person who will be wildly different, making the decision that this is probably the best chance to leave because she's not going to be the same person that I love anymore.
And you know what? You could have done that very easily because she sees the Doctor turn into someone else. She sees the Doctor turn into the Master. So all you had to do was write an exchange between the two where it's I love you, Doctor. I just don't know whether I don't know how you would word it, right? Because you don't want it to come across as vain, I suppose. You could have it come across as you could have the Doctor say something Yaz, I'm not going to be the person you love for much longer. Is this something that you want to pursue? And then you make it so that the ultimate decision is hers. And have her seen literally what the Doctor could become. She goes, you know what? I've loved traveling with you, but I want to end it on this note. Let's not say goodbye. Let's end it on a positive note.
Which you could even. Sorry, continue.
What they did instead was basically, because did anyone else notice, right? There were multiple points in this episode where the Master's playing on Yaz's trust of the Doctor. There's that bit when he's sort of in the TARDIS with her being oh, why is she contacting Daleks, Yaz? I hope there's a good reason for it. It's obvious he's trying to manipulate her or do something. And there's even a line all this hypnotism or manipulation stuff I've heard worse on a night out in Sheffield or whatever what the line was. Was anyone else expecting that to go anywhere? Because it really didn't. Yaz stays firm in her trust of the Doctor the whole time, which I guess shows in a way her strength of character. But equally, it just kind of feels why was that there?
I mean, you could say it's strength of character, but you could also argue it makes Yaz come across as kind of naive, because she trusts the Doctor to the ends of the earth, even though she's given her ample reason not to. So you could argue it's kind of naivete on Yaz's part.
Can I tell you all one alternative plot that I came up with while watching this episode, which I think might have actually been better for Yaz? It's if when the Doctor and the Master like switch bodies or something, which I didn't quite get. I thought it was going to be like a Freaky Friday thing where she opens the booth and she is Jodie, but she like talks with Sasha's voice or something.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be something like that. So my idea was like the Master takes over the Doctor's body and like takes Yaz across the universe as like the Master destroys the Doctor's reputation. So my idea was like, what if Yaz has to gain the strength to be able to kill the Doctor and force her to regenerate? So it's like she has to kill. So it's like she has to kill the Doctor who she loves.
Would have been cool, but then you would have had a regeneration story without that Doctor really in it. So I doubt they would have really gone down that route. It would have been.
Well,
cool.
they could have had the scenes in the same way. I mean, they already did that. Jodie is gone. Jodie's Doctor is gone for like a lot of the runtime, and we get her through holograms and
like a solid third of the runtime, she's not herself.
Yeah.
Like she's either the Master or she's a hologram, and even when she is a hologram, she's sometimes Peter Davison or Sylvester McCoy. Which, by the way, I like those scenes, but I do agree.
Those are the only good scenes aside from the regeneration.
Yeah. Did anyone else think the clothes thing was kind of weird though? Because it's like well, it's like they just swap clothes. So it's like hologram. The Master just swaps clothes with the Doctor.
Well, no, because he regenerated. Like he's technically a new incarnation of the Doctor with the Master's.
He like turned her into him. So
I think that's how it works.
Is being the Doctor just the costume?
What the fuck
no,
is
it's
going on?
The thing is, though,
I get what you're saying.
Tiny hints. There's tiny hints of really deep self-loathing on the Master's part, and I think that's intended to be an extension of that.
Stuart, we're getting an echo from your microphone, by the way. Could you turn down your sensitivity a bit?
Oh, yeah, sure. You sure it's definitely me?
I believe it's you, because you're the only green circle when I'm hearing it. If it's not you, then it's a ghost.
How about now?
I'll see.
Come on.
There's still a bit of an echo.
Apologies for making gaming noises right now.
Nothing stops it, Ryan.
All right, now it's
so, like in terms of all this stuff, I actually want to share this because this was a comment on my review video that went up yesterday, and I don't agree with this commenter's numbers that they use for this, but I deeply agree with the sentiment in terms of how they laid this out. So this was Wajid Manan, who said, as an episode of Doctor Who, 8 out of 10. As an anniversary special, 9 out of 10. As 13's farewell, 6 out of 10. And for wrapping up the Chibnall era, 2 out of 10. So, and like, I don't agree with the specific numbers, but with the sentiment of that, yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying, because as like an anniversary, because people have said that it does more to celebrate the show's past than Day, and I kind of do agree to an extent. I still think Day is the better written piece of television by quite a significant margin.
Yeah,
but I would equally say, if what you want from an anniversary is like, you know, the cameos and the lines, it is what Russell described it as when the interviews were going down. It is a 10-year-old's dream Doctor Who story.
That's the thing, isn't it? Like,
you've got all your favorites there.
It is fan wang, but that's the thing. You had like a good reason to do it, and you know what? That's one thing that like I will say. The whole like you know, because obviously there's the regeneration plan from the Master to regenerate the Doctor like into the Master. That was a really, like, at least in my opinion, clever way to be able to integrate classic Doctors. Like, if you were ever going to do it with a way that doesn't feel too forced, that's probably the smartest way you could do it, because it gives you an excuse to literally go into the Doctor's mind like they did in this episode, and like that's a really good reason to have the classic Doctors there. So if they were going to do that at all, in my opinion, that is a really smart way to do it in a way that does still feel like kind of organic and not too forced, at least in my opinion.
Any way to go into the Doctor's mind. Sorry, continue.
Oh no, I was just going to say very briefly, I think this episode's concepts would not have worked as well had the actors not tried their damnedest to sell the shit out of them. Like, Sasha, God love him, is doing everything he can to make that Doctor performance unsettling, and it works.
Oh yeah, I
Like,
found it really
almost feels-
unsettling.
it almost feels like perverse in a way, like how you've got like this arbiter of like moral goodness. I mean, in the show's eyes anyway, and in sort of the grander scheme of Doctor Who, being coerced into this devilish little sort of man.
Yeah, it felt.
Who's
Yeah, it feels kind of violating, doesn't it?
Yes,
It really
that's
kind
the
of
word.
annoying.
It felt
is scary.
violating and
He
gross.
sells it. He sells it really, really well. I don't think, because if you'd have told me on paper, oh, this plot's going to revolve around the Doctor regenerating into the Master, that sounds really bad. Like on paper, if you just read that premise, you'd be a bit like, oh, I don't know how I feel about that. But you know what? Watching it play out, I think credit to Sasha because he sells it really well.
I actually really like it as a concept. I can actually really buy that is something that the Master would try to do. I mean, especially Sacha Dhawan's Master. He's probably like the most unhinged one we've had.
I think it's just maybe on paper without any elaboration, it does kind of sound a bit like a fanfic.
I mean, sure, but again, that's something you could say about, like, again, a lot of different kind of Doctor Who plots, to be honest.
That's true.
Well, so let's talk
what
about.
was said about Doomsday back in the day.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think it was one of like the actual actors for the classic Doctors, or someone who was a prominent actor in like classic Doctor who literally like said the day they do the Daleks versus the Cybermen is the day that Doctor Who has ran out of ideas.
Wheel in space.
Oh yeah, because that's what that was originally going to be, wasn't it? Yeah. Mad.
So, let's talk about the Master's plan then. So he wants to. So it's a bit of a. We have.
Good luck.
First of all, we have the Doctor being contacted. No, so hang on. What happens? So they do the train robbery, where we find out that the Master is kidnapping a little girl from a box, who everyone thought was going to be something to do with the Timeless Child, but was actually a big squid. Actually, no, not Timeless Child, big squid. That's
you know what's really weird about that? I swear to God, they literally play the Timeless Child theme, or at least something similar to it. So it's almost like even the episode is trying to evoke that.
They must have known what they're doing. It must have been some kind of like really weirdly executed bacon switch. It had to have been.
Piano stuff going on, the dun 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 dun. That stuff that always plays when like the Timeless Child's being brought up, when that child is revealed. Like, in all intents and purposes, musically, that's what they were trying to like express, but it just wasn't. It was a quarynx. I swear as well, they call that monster or like creature a different thing each time it's said. Sometimes it's quarynx, sometimes it's quarynx. I swear it's said something different every time. So I'm not sure what you're supposed to call it.
To be fair, credit to them, the bait and switch work. I did think it would be like a Timeless Child, like a Doctor as a Timeless Child in there. I did think that's what it would be. So I mean, credit if it was a bait and switch, it worked. I guess.
Though, right? My argument with that, though, I don't think the quarynx needs to exist. You know what you could have used, and it would have probably made more sense as like an ending to this era. You know, in Battle Around Skorav Kolos, the yeah. No, because literally that whole thing is like we build planets with our minds.
I think I saw someone on Twitter say that the quarynx was meant to be like a metaphor for the Timeless Child, like as in it's like it starts off as a child obviously, and then they steal it and then they use it to power their things.
If that was a metaphor, it was not expressed. It's just,
yeah.
We could have. So that's sort of
as an isolated thing. I kind of like it just because it taps into that sort of very weird, vaguely almost sort of Lovecraftian aspect of science fiction, which is like it looks like it's a small child. It is an energy squid. I'm like, that's weird enough that I just kind of like it on principle.
So why does it look like a small child?
I like the Saw You Track.
No, they did say, to be fair, it was because people would innately, pity it and want to save it if it appeared as something that they would want to save. So it appears as a small child to be like, please, I'm being kidnapped, help. So I think that was what they were trying to do.
Yeah, so the Master just for heartstring pull. Yeah.
The Master steals that child and then sets her up on powering the big cyber planet. Then
the Master stealing children now.
By the way, I'm going to keep a tally of these ideas that would be more interesting to explore than what we actually spend our time in the episode doing. I'm going to call the Doctor empathizing with the quarynx. I'm going to call that number one because child who's stolen young for their power. Yeah, that's That's what Chibnall set up with the Timeless Child, and he brings.
I wrote an entire list of all the ridiculous. I wrote an entire list of all the ridiculous plot points that are in this episode. You want me to just read them off?
I mean, I think that's we'll save that for like later on. I guess I think.
I can see my green circle lighting up because of the fireworks again. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. Don't worry about it.
There's someone in my kitchen, so that's.
That sounded so concerning. Like
someone like that.
There's someone in my kitchen. So sorry.
Someone's not broken in. It's just that they were, they're meant to be here.
I can see my green circle.
The Master's plan then involves a Dalek contacting the Doctor, which, by the way, this is idea 2 that's way more interesting as a concept to explore than a lot of what's in this episode. A Dalek that's just decided, hey, I don't actually like the Dalek ideology. And like it has,
and the Doctor's like, that's new. It's really not, Doctor.
Well, yeah,
it's really not.
It's not, first of all, but so
it kind of is though, because this one arrived at that conclusion by itself, unlike something like Rusty that basically had to have his entire mind messed with.
I think
but it would have been a good opportunity to bring back Rusty. They should have brought him back. That would have been kind of cool.
Yeah.
Oh my god, we did that at the same time. Same brain. That's the thing from Fugitive.
So
well, it was new for me, so it counts.
Oh no.
So yeah, no. The only thing that she said, like she says, that's a new one. So I no longer believe in the Dalek mission, which I kind of feel like no, that's not a new one. Dalek's no longer believing in the Dalek mission. That's been done before. But what is new, and a really potentially interesting concept to explore, is the idea that Daleks have enough free will to be like, nah. I would imagine that most of them are killed, which, is a really interesting idea, like an aspect of Daleks to explore that's never been explored. The idea that Daleks can just sometimes be like, no though, and then they would just be dealt with by the other Daleks, I imagine. And I imagine that a lot of them would just feel inclined to go along with the Dalek regime anyway to not get killed. Like, loads of interesting stuff you could do with that. But it's just here to set up a plot point. This Dalek is just then killed and discarded.
That has always been like an implication. Like, Daleks are not robots. They are like geniuses. They do have free will. They can make their own decisions. Like we saw that in like Daleks and Manhattan Evolution of the Daleks. But it's like, again, like you're right. They don't put enough focus on that. It just kind of happens, and then we're like, oh shit. I guess this is a thing that can happen.
This Dalek is a plot device to get the story in motion. It just exists for that.
That's not the concept I was thinking you were going to say had the potential. I thought the thing you were going to say had the potential was the fact that this Dalek hates the fact that they've deviated from preservation of the Dalek.
Oh yeah,
and made it into the the continued survival of the Dalek race, and seeing them as two separate races. The problem is that concept never gets explored again.
Yeah, so that's a really
what would have made more sense for this plot, if you want to simplify it, free right? Make it so that this Dalek goes against the others for allying with the Master, because that goes directly against Dalek prerogative. Just simplify.
Yeah.
I like that as a concept, but the thing is, this episode does not have the time to deal with that as a concept.
To be fair,
the Daleks have gone against the primary directive. They've allied with another entity.
Yeah. So I don't think that this is a concept that you can just introduce out of the blue without exploring.
Which they don't. And they don't
to be fair, if it was like I don't like that the Daleks have allied with the Master, then going to ally with the Doctor would kind of make him a bit of a hypocrite. This character.
He'd probably say I'm wrong too. I want to die as well. I don't know.
To be fair, that is a pretty Dalek thing to do.
Yeah. Did anyone else feel really like genuinely kind of sad when the Dalek traitor got killed? I was kind of like, oh.
Well, yeah, it's like, no, the episode's potential.
I can't believe that I thought of an interesting allegory. Kill the Daleks.
I didn't mean sad as in the potential was wasted. I mean sad as in like, oh, he didn't have to die. He was just a little fella. He was helping out.
The thing is, hang on. The thing that's interesting to me about this Dalek is he's still spouting a fascist ideology, just a different one. which is neat.
Well, which one is he?
I actually love that. I love that detail because, like, yes, maybe he decides that their specific goal isn't what they want, but he's still gonna be so steeped into that way of thinking, it's still gonna be messed up.
That's the thing. It's the Daleks, isn't it? They're like, yeah, they do have free will and separate minds, but they also are conditioned to think in a certain way. Yeah, that's the thing.
Oh, how cool would that be as a story? Like a Dalek that breaks away, but he's still a bit fashy. That sucks. Oh well. And like that's the thing they're exploring.
He takes over some other society in a really totalitarian way, but with the goal of like stopping the Daleks.
There's a lot of potential here.
I feel like we can expect the Big Finish box set Renegade Daleks. That'll be a 4-series run.
I want to point out something as well. I wanted to point out the fact that if I had a nickel for every time the Doctor had been turned into a version of an iconic monster to get transported to a higher entity, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice. Because that literally happened in Village of the Angels, when she gets transported to an angel to get brought to Tecteun, and now she gets shoved into a Dalek casing to get transported to the Master.
At least they didn't pin a cliffhanger.
Well, and she also gets turned. She also gets turned into the. I was just I just remember watching this episode where they're just like, get in the casing, and we're like, what? Just no, thank you.
I said that out loud. I was like, what?
Can you imagine how mad that would be? Like the Daleks have somehow like interfered with how the Force regeneration works, so they make the Doctor literally regenerate into a Dalek mutant and then put her in the Dalek casing and make her like the Supreme or Emperor or something.
They called it a travel machine, so they are using it for travel.
But
I mean,
it's an extra callback Easter egg you didn't even realize.
I mean, to be fair though, the Weeping Angels also move. I don't know whether like it's just I don't know. I hate that as well.
So we're still on the Master's plan.
Destroy the entire plan.
We are.
So
the Master's Dalek plan. That was a reference.
Oh yeah, that was a reference. Big Finish did it in 2019.
I've been warned of that now. Big Finish stealing all the good ideas. It should have been called the Master's Dalek plan.
What I find funny, that was the exact moment where I went, oh, we're in for one of those kind of stories. That was the moment where I was like, yeah, no, we're in for fanwank extreme.
Thing is, Stu, if they did that, then the Cybermen would be like, but what about us, man? Come on, we're here too. We're here too, guys.
Yeah, because he makes a joke about that.
We regenerate now for no particular reason.
Also, I love how long it takes them to regenerate now. Remember, like Timeless Children, it's instantaneous, and then like in that bit with the fugitive, they like take like 10 minutes to get back up.
It's because they needed to exposit some dialogue.
I know,
because we needed some exposition.
I know,
yeah, because we cut directly to someone who goes, "They're regenerating." It's like, yes, I can see that.
Also, I don't even have a problem with that because they needed to make room for Joe Martin to be a boss for as much time as they could milk it for.
Also,
so she can just walk in and go, yes, this thing that we've been talking about that's really dangerous, this forced regeneration, yeah, we're just going to stop it now.
I actually quite liked
the phone book. I would listen in rapture.
I quite liked that they used the regeneration energy of all the Cybermen and like diverted it back into the machine to like reverse the process. Like they kind of worked.
You know what? I kind of want to.
I kind of better if they got Yaz to kill the Doctor.
I kind of want to ask you guys about something that I'm really curious about.
You know what? I respect that.
I'm really curious about what you guys think about something. I want to know what you guys think of the whole the AI hologram thing and how like the plot kind of hinged on that. Because the thing is, obviously, it is kind of like it's almost like a kind of Deus Ex Machina thing, but for the end of the era rather than the end of the episode. It's something that just kind of exists now, so we can do stuff with it.
Yeah.
But you know what? It genuinely kind of would have been an actual really triumphant moment if that was set up previously in the show. Like, imagine, like, for example, in Series 11, we saw the Doctor, like, saying she's working on it and tinkering with it and it's going wrong. Maybe in Series 12, like, it's improved and she's got it a bit more right, but it's still kind of fucky, so we can only kind of use it to its potential. And then here in the finale of the whole era, it's working perfectly. We can pull off this big bombastic thing with it. That would have actually been quite cool.
I'll do another one. Like,
it also would have been cool if they'd had a 6th Doctor companion, so 6 could do it as well.
And an 8th Doctor companion.
So
the thing is that they've already got they've got a much better, like I would happily see it as like something that she's working on the whole time, but they've already got a plot device that could be used to establish this very clearly, is that the Doctor is telepathic, and then trapped in her own mind, reaching out telepathically isn't something that I think is outside the realms of what's been established as plausible for her.
Oh yeah, doing the whole.
I don't think you're wrong about that, there, Jay. But here's the thing. Here's part of why I like it is that it actually feeds into a bit of headcanon I've had about the Doctor for ages, and it's completely unimportant headcanon.
But just wondering, stuff in the background, isn't it?
Say what?
Is that what you? Sorry, I was just guessing what you're gonna say because I've heard you say it in videos before that like when she's bored and not doing anything, she just kind of tinkers with stuff in the background like a Sonic,
yes,
like
exactly that. Which is actually why I really love that it gets established. Like you said, it would have been nice to have like seen that across the thing, but just dropping it as a line. I've been working on this. First of all, explains the frequent plot hole of why has this never been used before. That happens with almost every long running thing, but. Just in general, I like the way it was deployed. Is it an excuse for all the interactions? Yes, but I actually like that it feeds into my general notion of just picturing the Doctor like sitting around just tinkering with something. In my mind, it's usually the sonic screwdriver just adding settings that will never be used for everything. Like here's a setting to ripen a peach. Just because the Doctor's bored. And this notion of having been tinkering with this just feeds into that. And that's an idea I've had in my head forever and I just like.
The reason that I would want it to be telepathy is so that, well, I guess there are two options of like, I would much prefer it if either of these things happened. The AI that the companions are talking to isn't the Doctor. It's not that the Doctor isn't having these experiences and has no idea that these conversations have even taken place. This is just an AI that's like mimicking the Doctor. It's AI art. So like, okay, great. These meaningful conversations have happened, but we either need acknowledgement within the story of, okay, this is meaningful to say, oh, I'd say I'm Tegan. It's like, oh, this is meaningful to me because, you know, I'm hearing the things that I want to hear. And I guess it's nice to know that the Doctor feels this way because this is AI is representative of things that Doctor might say. But at the same time, this isn't actually a conversation I'm having with the Doctor. The Doctor is currently having an incredibly traumatic experience with the Master. But on the other hand, if it were telepathy, then the conversations would be real and would be an aspect, you know, of the Doctor that they're talking to. So the Doctor is having the conversations as well. Either of those
people in the chat are pointing out that the AI has already existed. But here's the thing, not like that. Like
yeah, no,
before,
not like
in previous episodes when we saw it, it was literally just to like say pre-recorded messages.
Yeah.
It wasn't to like you know like save a whole plot.
I think I get what you're going for with the telepathy. My argument would be that like obviously I'm not saying this episode doesn't really cater to casuals anyway in the slightest, but I just think it might have been a bit much to put in the main show to have like a bulk of conversations happen over like telepathy, like you know, in terms of it's more interesting, but I would say that like the holograms are an easier visual representation for the audience.
Well, because you can just have the Doctor appear and then explain it. You know, you can have the Doctor appear to Yaz visually with her as the hologram would, and the same way that she explains she's a hologram, she explains, Yaz, I'm reaching out to you telepathically or whatever. You know.
Here's the problem I would have had if that's how they did it. Because of the situation the Doctor is actually in at that moment, which, as you mentioned, Jay, is this huge traumatic thing going on with the Master. If they tried to have those meaningful conversations with an actual projection of the Doctor, I would have been wondering, why are you having this conversation now? Don't you have other stuff to be dealing with? The fact that that's an AI, it separates it from the obligation of dealing with the Doctor's immediate situation, and it doesn't become this weird disconnect where something horrible is going on, but you're taking the time for this.
The thing is, I think you could do both, and I think you could do it in the I think you could do it particularly with the idea that the Doctor is separated into multiple aspects, which we see. You know, we see in the in like her mind, she's talking to other versions of herself in there, and we can have we can have different aspects of her doing different things mentally at the same time, and I would be okay. But I do think you're right. I think you're really. You do have a valid thing that you've said there, but like I don't think this is like an impassable obstacle. I think that you could certainly write it in a way that does acknowledge for the fact that the Doctor is dealing with some tricky shit right now. But I guess let's talk about the episode.
You could write it in a way that works. Could Chibnall have written it in a way that?
Well, that's the question. I guess what I want to put down now is I want to get back to the episode itself rather than assessing our various notions for what it could have been.
Someone said that the hologram might have been a reference to the Doctor Who VR game, and if that's the case, fair enough. That's a pretty deep cut. Like, who the hell's gonna know that?
Oh my god! Yeah, the Power of the Doctor is a sequel to the Doctor Who VR game. Like the 3 people who played it are gonna be chuffed.
I tried to play that game. It made me so motion sick and so angry.
I finished it on stream, and I've never had a more awkward stream in my life because I was trying to be nice to it, but like there was this one bit in that game, right? You know, you've probably seen it in the trailers, like the laser bit, right? When I was doing the laser puzzle, one of the items didn't spawn. So I was literally going round and round in circles, but like, I've done everything it wants me to do, and it's not working. The chat had to tell me, "Oh yeah, you have to restart the game." I was like, "What?"
Joy.
Yeah, and I did. I had to restart the whole game to get it to work.
That game was so broken, and I felt bad because I was given like a code to like try it out and review it, but I hated it so much.
You guys are getting review codes?
It's happened twice with related stuff, and it will probably never happen again because of how much I hated that second one. First one, I got sent code for The Lonely Assassins, which I actually liked. I thought that was a nifty, like, small scale.
I think I had to pay for Lonely Assassins, but I did get Edge of Reality, the port of the VR game that they did for like all the consoles.
I was offered a review copy of the new game made by the company that make the you guys have seen the ads, right? The Winter is Coming browser game, Game of Thrones.
Oh yeah.
Didn't you do a video?
Yeah, I did a video about how that was basically a scam, and they offered me a review code for the next game.
Honestly, you kind of have to respect the rules on that. You gotta.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to mention briefly the Master's plan in a bit because one thing I want to mention.
Starries, we're still on the section about the Master's plan.
Yeah, no, that's what I want to say. Like, that's what I was going to try and say. So, I was confused by how the Doctor was going back and forth between the prison cell and Russia. Because we see Ashad break him out. So, my assumption is that's how he gets to Russia to interrogate the Doctor. But how did he get to Russia the first time? And also, like,
by boat.
Can Ashad do time travel? Like, I know that he dropped in like with the like Siberian stuff, and I know that in Haunting he appears, but I didn't know he could just do it on command, although maybe that's a feature of the clone, which by the way, I love how that's just like a one-off line to explain how he's back.
I'm so glad I cloned you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I cloned you.
It's to explain why he's so much more boring. I mean, he still looks amazing and the performance is pretty good, but like, it's still a wasted character because they killed the real one, and it's like, look, it's him again. It's like, it's a mannequin. It might as well.
What did he do?
It might just be another Cyberman.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't really have any motivation.
Kind of just wandered around and shouted.
He's the Master's henchman. He's been reduced to the Master's henchman.
What I thought they were going to do with it.
This was weird because it's like they have to explain why Ashad's back. Oh, he's a clone, but also Graham just shows up and it's like, hi, I'm in a volcano for some reason.
I think
I kept waiting for someone to ask, how did you get here? And nobody did.
The Master also cloned Graham for reasons.
I think Chibnall assumed that everyone would remember the ending of Revolution of the Daleks. That was a pretty bold.
I remembered that.
You did, but because what happened with Graham at the end, he's like, I'm gonna go and investigate all these alien activities across the Earth.
I love the implication. I love the implication that the Master like cloned a shard, gave him a cyber suit, and then battered the shit out of that cyber suit to make him look insane.
I think the assumption we're meant to take away is that he was investigating it like Ace and Tegan were, with his little psychic paper. Although I don't know how the hell he was expecting to beat the Daleks with a psychic paper.
Hello, I'm Graham. I'm cyber investigator. I'm going to go to a volcano and I'm going to find all those Daleks and batter the shit out of them.
But can we beat these Daleks? The chase is on.
We need to not think about the volcano too much at all, just because literally everyone in there should have melted just by proximity to the heat. But
I mean,
can we also just, how did it work in the end when it was like, oh, I've made the volcano lava into steel now, I was like,
That
I
was
know that
weird.
I know
That
that
was
it's,
fucking
I know
weird.
that it's a cyber conversion planet, so I think the implication was meant to be that they had like excess steel that they could use to make it into lava. But I don't know whether that's how
No, it isn't. Let's move on.
chemistry
No, it
works.
isn't.
And also beyond that,
Isn't.
why would they have a giant steel laser on a Cyberman
Yeah.
ship?
Because it's the Death Star. It's the fucking Death Star. But
Because
here's a
that's
real
how the
question.
conversion works. They have like a little mini laser in there. They like once they've converted you, they
You know-
shoot steel at you
well,
and it puts a cyber suit around
You
you.
know
I
that,
think
no,
it's
no,
really
no.
like-
You know that Chibnall has a giant steel laser that he's aimed at the RTD era.
Yeah. Here's the real
I
question:
think it's
Did
because
they ever
Television
fix the
show.
paintings? Did they ever fix the defaced paintings? Did they remove?
Oh, yeah, the
speak
defaced
from the
paintings.
All right, so
They easily
wait,
could have
okay,
done.
so
It was clearly just a bad Photoshop done. They could have just put
Oh, no,
I
Control
think
Z.
I think
They
it
could've
might.
just hit Control
It
Z.
looked like it was fucking like that. It looked like it was done with an AI prompt, like Sasha Dewan as Rasputin in the Scream.
Sasha Dewan
Yeah.
back in Russia in
That's
1916 on a little
weird.
laptop looking up
Yeah,
Dolly
So
Mini.
that's a part of the master's plan.
Such-
That's a part of
Can
the
we
master's
point out-
plan we need to mention, just to be clear, right?
Yeah.
Can we point out that they
Paintings
completely
just get your
unironically put him in the Last Supper? Like, I found that absolutely hilarious.
I now actually desperately need for one of these paintings to show up in the background of a future series and still be defaced.
Yeah, that would be good.
And it has
That
to
would
be
be good.
American Gothic. That was the funniest one, I
I
thought.
know,
Yes.
either that
Yeah.
one or, as I said, the Last Supper, just because it's the idea.
I
of
like
that
the Last
painting
Supper the
just-
most.
Yeah, the idea of that just being the master is just—I don't know. It's so cursed.
Oh
and I
god,
love it.
oh god, they should do an episode where the master takes the place of Jesus.
I think maybe it was meant to be a reference to the fact that the Doctor's being like lauded as Space Jesus in recent years. So the Master's like, you know what? You can be Space Jesus. I'm gonna be Space Jesus as well. Fuck you.
I'm gonna be
Jesus.
Jesus. No, so okay, that's a part of the master's plan. Is that the
Actually,
master
you know what?
wants to get the Doctor's attention by defacing paintings or something? I'm not quite clear on that.
Yeah,
Um.
I think so.
So okay, so that he has so he,
But again,
but he gets her to he uses that to get her to unit. But he already has her attention with the Daleks. So why does he do that as well?
see, like the thing is,
That's a real question. Please
way-
answer it.
don't have
Huh.
a real answer, but the thing is, these are things that I will never feel the need to answer because with Dewan's specific so different people have done the master differently. Some of them have done him very collected, some of them have done him very scheming. I would actually argue that Missy tries to appear random but is often just really scheming under the whole time. Dewan does the master very much in a severe manic episode is very much how he comes across pretty much all the time. So he's the one who I actually feel the least need to try and pull apart his plans because basically he plays him so unhinged that I could just believe that this makes sense to him.
Yeah,
I will.
Yeah.
but
every other line with him is sort of like, I'm allergic to humans. I'm going to do this old school Doctor. It's just like every line was trying so damn hard to be the one that sticks in your head.
Stuart, what was the line that we wrote for him when he returned in our script?
I'm back, baby, or something like that. It's like,
I think it was
I'm
like,
back and I'm here to party.
I think it was
Guess
something
what,
like that.
Yeah, that's it. Guess what, Earth? I'm back and I'm here to party. It's like every other line.
I'll give you.
They load him with so many of these lines that even when we get ones which I actually quite like, there was that one in there that says there's that one in there where he goes united we have more in common that divide. We have more in common and we'd stand united. That's very you, isn't it?
Yeah,
I like that
That's
one a
very
lot.
you, isn't it? I quite
You know,
like that
a
one.
line I liked. It was a lot different in tone, but it's when he's talking to Tegan. It's like, "Oh, how's your Aunt Vanessa? Did you keep her in a little dollhouse?" I was like, "Damn."
That was cold. Yeah, that was
I
I
love
like-
him winding up everybody. He was so good at it.
Yeah, no.
And he turns
Well,
to
no,
Kate
he was
Stewart and
occasionally.
goes,
Yeah, what was that? So okay, what was that?
Was an idiot.
What was that? It's like,
Yeah, no.
hey, you know how I murdered one of your loved ones? Hey, yeah, wasn't that fun? Wasn't that fun of me? Hey, your dad is stupid. Like, what was that?
Yeah, no. No, they should have. He should have done something. They should have had him say a line like, "Oh, you know, you're going to enjoy what's coming soon. Your dad certainly did." And it's like, and then the Cybermen appear. And it's like, they should have done that, but no.
They should have brought back Cyberbrig from the end of Series 8 and be like, "Here he is."
All that this has made me realize is that I want a spin-off of just Sacha Dhawan's master going around and just causing minor inconveniences to history. That would be such a
meddling. That's the meddling monks deal.
That's the meddling monk.
Well, yeah, but just do that.
I want them. I now want him to bump into the meddling monk, and they just annoy the crap out of each other because they're both trying to pull the same nonsense for fun.
Yeah, it's like a sitcom. They make it into like a sitcom.
Yeah, I can imagine they're going up against each other, trying to one up each other the whole time.
Yeah, I mean, like when Big Finish had Missy meet the meddling monk, it was already amazing. So, like, anytime you want to mash the master with the monk, I'm here for it.
So
who's the meddling monk? What's his deal?
He meddles and he's a monk.
He literally is a Time Lord, and literally just for fun, he goes about and fucks with history. That's literally his whole deal.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds interesting. What stories are he in? What stories are
he's in? He's only got one TV story in it. He's only in the Time Meddler with the first.
He's in Dalek's Master Plan.
Story. Oh, he's in Dalek's Master Plan.
Yeah, but like Dalek's Master Plan doesn't exist.
So hang on.
Meddler? Is the Time Meddler reconstructed, or is it?
Yeah, no, it exists.
No,
it survives.
That one's full, and Big Finish has made use of him.
That's the first story where we actually find out about, like, we get the name Time Lords, isn't it? And it's the first time we see another TARDIS, I think.
I thought the name Time Lords.
I thought it was in the War Games.
Maybe it's at least like the first time we see another Time Lord, I think.
Okay, so I want to
another one, but I don't think they're named yet.
I want to circle back for a moment. Okay, Vera, you were saying that you don't need like an explanation for the Master's plan, like the Master, like, you know, defacing paintings being a part of his plan that makes sense. Well, no.
Yeah,
so
I kind of don't.
I'm fine to agree with that in terms of his character, right? But in terms of serving the story of the episode, I'm not so as happy with it. It's like, okay, so we have like a random stint where we dedicate some time to like some random shit the Master has done for no reason. It's like, okay.
What was really weird to me about the paintings is the last time Doctor Who messed with classic paintings, it was Day of the Doctor, and it was a completely different deal. It was just so weird to me that you would evoke something that reminded me so hard of this Zygon thing when it's got zero to do with that.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of that in this, isn't there?
Oh yeah, the paintings thing is weirdly similar to the Day of the Doctor thing. Now that I think about it,
actually, yeah,
because Kate even introduces it like, "Look at the paintings." It's even got like the same character introducing it. Yeah,
paintings, they're all weird.
You know, if I may touch on the whole like plan thing as well. This might be a bit of a long tangent, so bear with me. I remember people like one of the main criticisms was that, you know, saying stuff like, "Oh, this feels like multiple episodes mashed together." And I was thinking, well, like, you know, as you go through the episode, it becomes very evident quite quickly how these things are interlinked. You know, the Master like takes over the Doctor's body so he can get her out of the picture. Meanwhile, the Cybermen get to build their planet next to Earth so they can convert all the humans, and then the Daleks get to flood the Earth with lava where all the humans are. Wait, hold up.
Yeah, I was confused by that. The whole
Ecuador.
What the Cybermen and the Daleks get out of this, because the Master says
they directly
oh my god, it's like Batman and Robin
with each other.
Yeah, the Master says, "I'm going to ruin your reputation and give the Daleks and the Cybermen the conversion factory," basically. But like, the Daleks don't convert people, and B, do you really think that Daleks and the Cybermen are just gonna like share a planet afterwards? Like,
the Daleks are gonna be like, "Yeah, we can kill all these humans. You can have this lob. We're gonna kill these."
I guess you can say that it's just like a result of the Master being insane. But what I guess I'm getting at is, why would the Daleks and Cybermen go along with that? I think buy that the Master would be someone who'd be like, "Yeah, I'll make that a thing," but the Daleks shouldn't go, "Yeah, we'll share Earth with the Cybermen."
It's yet another reason to remove the Daleks from the story, because we already have like it established that the Master has some control over the Cybermen after the events of the previous series.
What? If you wanted another like alien force in this episode, right? You know what I'd have done? I'd have had them do, because like, you know how the Cybermasters and Ashad and his regular Cybermen all exist? Have them be like the two main like.
Well, yeah, but the thing is, you don't need another alien force like that. Would just overcomplicate things.
If he really wanted, yeah, but it's Chibnall though. He needs all the elements. If you needed it, you could.
If you want another alien force, make it the Stenza.
I just can't believe we're not talking more about how those
Jay,
plans contradict each other. They do not work together.
Well, no, yeah, they don't. So
Ago.
that just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. The plans don't work.
I know
and the
earlier I
involvement
said I
of
really
each...
enjoyed this one. I'm not exactly making a good case for
Yeah,
it.
no,
am I?
it's funny because as much shit I'm chatting about it, I do still enjoy the episode. It's
same. That's the thing.
I did enjoy it, but like I don't know how much I defend. Like there are elements I'm defending, but honestly, part of that is just out of being a contrarian, and everyone else was slagging on them. So like in a vacuum, I'm not sure how much of this I would defend, but I can still enjoy something without necessarily defending it as a raw quality.
Yeah, that's
like
what I said earlier. You can have dumb fun.
The Daleks, of all the stuff that's just in there to make it feel big, the Daleks probably are the most pointless ultimately.
Yeah, I think Ashad is less pointless. Ashad is more pointless, but yes. And the Daleks take the most time away from
how easily the Daleks were taken care of, but it's also like I kind of came to expect that because literally in Resolution and Revolution it was the exact same. The Daleks were stupidly easy to take care of and get rid of, so I kind of came to expect that, and that's why I don't think I held it over this episode's head too much because it's just kind of the default with Chibnall Dalek stories.
Can I just make the point that the entire reason the Daleks were in there was probably because they wanted to give Sophie Aldred the bat so that she could beat up the Dalek and do the remembrance of the Dalek.
So I think it's time that someone says the thing, and I have no idea how. Like, someone needs to bring this up though, so I'm gonna do it now. I have no idea how viable this is, as like how reliably sourced this is, but it's my understanding that this was originally, or at least that it's theorized that this was originally written as like a last episode of the show before RTD came back, before we knew that that they wrote this thinking that Doctor Who was ending with this episode. Is that something that's been confirmed, or is it just a rumor?
It's not. Well, basically,
don't have about confirmed.
Chibnall has talked about this in Doctor Who magazine. He did actually get asked, not Doctor Who magazine actually. I think it was TV Guide. This is where me being way too tuned into every bit of Doctor Who news comes in handy. He basically said that someone asked him, "Did you write this episode as if it was going to be the last one?" And he said, "Well, your question's a bit too binary. I didn't know that Russell was coming back. However, I don't know whether with the scenes that were added, I think it was something like that, whether it necessarily plays like an ending." So I think what would have happened I do think there is a version of this that is intended to be the final episode of the show. I just think that I think if there hadn't been an RTD2, you'd have probably just ended it with either all the companions reminiscing about the Doctor's adventures, because that feels very like...
It did have those vibes.
Yeah, it did have very like...
It
was, yeah. But like, it would have probably just ended with that and the Doctor saying, "Oh, I'm going to take in one last sunset," and you just cut to credits. It could have worked as a final episode. I think it probably was.
You know what? I've got a question. Do you guys think this episode would have worked better or could have been improved upon if it was a two-parter?
Or a three-part.
I feel like we say that about. We say that about every Chibnall episode. But
it's already the length of a two-part, though. It's.
I was gonna say honestly,
it should be much longer.
Well, maybe an ultra-long two-parter, I guess.
I figured it out. I figured it out.
No, I don't think it would help because I think to what degree it worked, at least for me, was on the energy and the fun and the momentum of it. You try and stretch it out to flesh these things out.
It was very fast-paced. The thing flew by.
Because I rewatched this morning and I barely felt the time go. It was a very fun watch. Like it's not like, say for example, I remember Stuart. You remember you did the Timeless Children review and you were like, it felt like years since I last looked at the time. This has the total opposite. It feels like it's done in like 5 minutes.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I found
it doesn't feel that way at all.
Yeah, I find this one. I do think that despite how much is going on, I at very least like that it didn't feel like a slog, and I felt that some of the things that would have really bored me were cut, i.e., Timeless Child, Ryan.
The thing about
that's why I asked. I think it's interesting how this is probably the one of the very few stories I don't think this does apply to, because again, like Vera said, it is so fast paced and it does fly by so much.
I do find it funny though, as a way to basically make the
Chibnall hang on, I'll be right back.
As a way to make the Chibnall era palatable to as many people as possible, it basically had to discard all of the plot lines of the Chibnall era. Yeah. I just think that kind of speaks volumes about how
that does speak volumes. That is why I've ended up with much warmer feelings towards
I'm exactly the same. Yeah, but I just think it says something about how accessible those plot lines were to a general audience, or just fans.
The scene of Seven and Ace in the volcano just did it for me.
Yeah.
That's my doctor. That's my companion. Yeah, I'm sold. Fine.
I want to know what they fell out over. I want to know what they fell out over.
I like to think they fell out over Ghostlight.
Are we talking about Ace and the Doctor?
Yeah. I really wish they explored Ghostlight. I've never seen Ghostlight, but I know what happens. I wish they.
It would have been some expanded media stuff that takes place after Survival, right? I'd assume.
But they
leave it vague, which I don't mind, but I would like to see that explored in the future.
I think the reason that this episode is so shit in terms of pacing is because, it's because the entire third season of his era got fucking kneecapped, and he kind of had. I assume he had ideas for several episodes, and instead of reworking it, he just sort of crammed it all into that final episode. It's pretty much the exact same production issue I highlighted in my Steven Universe video, which is pretty funny. But yeah, I think instead of spacing things out when his series was cut, he just decided to smush it all in, and we got.
I have a feeling it was a similar case to Flux, where it's it got cut down because of COVID, and then Chibnall couldn't be bothered to part with some of his ideas, and he was like, "Nah, we've got to squeeze them all in."
I do think to a certain degree, and I don't want to sound harsh, but I do think to a certain degree, the way Chibnall writes, it wouldn't matter how much time you give him, there will always be stuff left unresolved. Series 11,
because ultimately,
Series 11 and 12 were written on his own terms, and Series 12 still leaves you with a ton of questions that don't get answered.
As does Series 11 leave stuff unresolved.
Yeah, exactly. So I think Chibnall is just one of those writers who thinks of an idea in the moment, puts it down, but then doesn't really think about it much after that point. I just think that is how Chibnall does things.
Yeah, and ultimately he had an hour and a half, and this episode was full of stuff that didn't need to be there. New things, new ideas that could have been cut very easily, that take a significant proportion of the runtime, and he could have dedicated all of that time to telling a more cohesive story and a story that's that does more for the era. Like, for example, giving a satisfactory conclusion to Yaz's story.
Can I read out my list of all the bullshit?
Yes, let's do that now.
Can I just say one thing before we get back to that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Just because somebody brought up the Flux comparison, I'm not going to say it's impossible that this episode is a result of cramming a whole bunch of ideas into one thing. But honestly, I got that feeling way harder from Flux than I do with this. This gives me much more the feeling of basically trying to pack everything that explodes into the fireworks cannon for a big blowout. Much more than I thought I had more time, I'll cram it in. That's what I felt with Flux, not so much this.
The same way as
I would say this felt more thematically coherent to a degree than Flux did, because I don't know what the theme of Flux was, but I feel like with this it was about the importance of the Doctor and how they how they inspire people. That's said multiple times. At least got what this was going for. I still don't get what Flux was going for.
Well, Flux was very clearly
the theme of Flux is stuff.
It's very clear that Flux was meant to be a series of different independent ideas, but then because of the time constraints for COVID having to cut it down, they were like, you know what, screw it, let's make it only 6-parter and tack on this overarching thing.
To be fair to this episode, and I obviously, I'm not one to bring up production circumstances as a means to justify story decisions, but I do believe this one was also made during pandemic-y times, it was being filmed summer 2021, so it still wasn't great in terms of COVID and stuff. So I do empathize in a sense, because maybe that is why, to a degree, with I don't know, maybe because of distancing and stuff, because they do the exact same thing they did at the end of Revolution, which we mentioned earlier, of Ace and Tegan have been dropped off now. Maybe there is a reason for
that's
stuff
the thing.
That.
You kind of have to acknowledge the COVID thing, don't you? Because it's only fair. You kind of have to take it into account.
Yeah, but you do if you're shitting on you do if you're shitting on the people who made it, but not if you're just shitting on it. This is what it is now, and
I just think it's important to acknowledge context.
Can we talk about Ace and Tegan's reunion scene?
No, you gotta read my fucking list.
Ace and Tegan's reunion scene. They arrive. The Doctor's like, "Oh my god, Ace and Tegan, this is the reunion scene," and then they have some dialogue, and then the Doctor and Yaz just walk out of the room.
Yeah,
you're not coming with us this week, old companions, because you're in the past.
They do that so much though. They did it in Flux, whereas like in the Vanquishers, it's like, sorry fam, I'm gonna be my own companion this week. You
Because
get to stand there.
social distancing and we can't be in the room.
Yeah,
for that long.
maybe that is what it is. Maybe that was the reasoning. Maybe.
Well, no, because plot-wise for this episode, they wanted Ace and Tegan to be in the unit HQ. Like that's just where they wanted them for the story.
Some fucking reason.
I mean,
they didn't have any dialogue which explains that.
The one I was going to say something as well. They never, because I wrote this down because I rewatched it and I made little notes. I was all prepared for everything. What I was going to say in the opening, you know, when they initially call each other, Ace and Tegan call each other to catch up. How did Ace and Tegan meet?
Because I presume the same way that
Graham through the Doctor Who companion support group.
No, but that was established at the end of the episode.
No, it wasn't.
That was established.
It wasn't to the Doctor Who companion support group. Clearly, they found each other the same way Graham found all the others. It's quite easy to find someone who would feasibly talk about it online. For all you know, they've only been in contact for 15 years. Right when the internet became more ubiquitous.
I guess, but it's just kind of weird that they just are already friends.
I think they met on Tinder.
I mean, there are little forums about forums about the Doctor and Love and Monsters.
Yeah.
So I think
I just find it weird that they're just like that they completely gloss over what could have been an interesting. Because like Ace and Tegan are like very different in like terms of like characters, right? And they kind of show that to some degree in this episode because Tegan, in her reactions to the Doctor, she's kind of like, actually, screw you, you left me, which I quite liked. But Ace is more, she's got her own issues with the Doctor, but she's more happy to see the Doctor. Would have been interesting to see their different, like, you know, views on the Doctor and their departures played up on a bit more. Maybe they could have, you know, because you know, like how, obviously, I know a lot of people don't like the fighting between Sarah Jane and Rose at school reunion, but at least that I felt like, it felt like meaningful interaction was taking place. It felt like, for all intents and purposes, here they were just there, and I get why that was the case because there's so many other things that they have to do that they require to skip over these things. But I just think that like we were saying, there's so many ideas in this that could be like
removed.
So good on their own, and I think it is just a shame that like they are stuck in a story that doesn't allow for their elaboration particularly.
Yeah.
Well, I made this point in my Five Doctors video recently. They don't stick on that because it's like this is meant to be like one big glorious celebration of the show, and to have like 20 minutes of the companions being mad at the Doctor for being a bit of a dick.
I have seen people describe this as like New Who's Five Doctors equivalent to a degree, and I think
it fits that mold. I
definitely see that comparison.
I honestly think the Five Doctors is way more goofy though. I know that's like sacrilege and people are going to get mad about that. But I like it too, but I honestly think it's much more goofy than this.
Power of the Doctor asks the important question: what if the Five Doctors was bad?
Here's an excerpt from my Letterboxd review, which is essentially a mental list I made while first watching the episode of all of the nonsense plot points that they crammed into this. 1. The Cybermen. 2. They kidnap a child. 3. They built a Death Star. Some of these plot points are related, but I'm treating them as separate things. A story has a bunch of separate plot points, but this is way too many. 4. Dan leaves. 5. Ace and Tegan. 4. Rasputin being the master. 5. Now the Daleks are here. 6. Vendor for some reason. 7. Seismologist gone. 8. Paintings gone. 9. Old companions have a rift with the Doctor, and a potential Yaz rift happens as well. I fucking lost count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9, 11, 12. Dalek spy now. 13. The Doctor shocks people. 14. Fucking units in here. 15. A shot is back for no reason. 16. The Doctor regenerates into the Master. 17. Regeneration dimension with 80s Doctor up. What? I completely lost count again. I think this is 19. She's a hologram now. 20. She can turn into 5 and 7, and they have these big fan servicey moments. 21. Now Graham's here. 22. Now Jill Martin. Now 20. Now 23. Now 23. She dies for real. That is 23 rather major plot points
Did Vinder serve any function?
Yeah,
did he serve any function other
No,
than? I'm pretty sure
in there.
like he was only put in there so that he could be the one to point the gun at the
Yeah.
master's head, so he couldn't move. I'm
thing
pretty
is,
sure that's the only thing he was there for.
You could easily rewrite it that it was just Kate Stewart doing that, because she wouldn't have had an issue with a gun, because she's a unit. She's a unit person. So
The
like
only thing
in
he
hindsight,
serves
it's
is
even
getting
weird.
Yaz out of there.
The doctor makes sure that Yaz takes a gun, and yet they have Vinder there holding it.
Yeah.
I was just about to bring
How
that up. That was
decent
played
was
like it was a really like shocking moment that was going to have big implications, but it was just kind of another yet another thing that happened, wasn't
comes
it?
back to what I was saying before about the master manipulation angle of like you know, where he's like oh, you know, why is the Dalek, why is the doctor contacting Daleks? Yaz, ooh, I think the doctor's untrustworthy, and it just
Like what the fuck?
doesn't go anywhere. Like
that wasn't even. It wasn't going to go anywhere. Like that can't have been a functional plot point, because that shit can easily fucking be resolved by just playing the message. You're fucking telling her that there's a Dalek spy, possibly.
So,
like,
I want to get back to the Master's plan.
I don't know how much more there is to say about
we
it.
not already
We
do
need to get we need to get to the main meat, right?
We've been trying to do it forever.
So
I
I'm taking command now. We're gonna go through these topics.
When's the fall of Doctor Who?
Commander Instant VGA.
When's
So,
the fall of Doctor Who Part 2?
2039.
2039.
2039.
Yes.
Yeah.
So in like 20,000 years.
Yeah, well, 200,000 years.
Gilgamesh said, "Why am I
20, 30.
I don't know.
You're right.
So
I do Arcan maths.
So right, the Master gets okay. What we were at is like the Master had got a Dalek to or like no, the Dalek did this of its own free will, but the Daleks, the other Daleks and the Master knew about it. This traitor Dalek, and let him contact the Doctor. It could have been really cool to see the Doctor actually react properly to the and cautiously to the idea of a Dalek reaching out to her and being like, "Hey, please come to this Dalek base," because like obviously that could be a trap. But no, she's just like she allows herself to be captured by this because she's really smart. And the other Daleks just they arrive and they are like, "Hey, Doctor, we've captured you now." And then they transport the Doctor to the Master, as is their agreement, I suppose. And the Master forces the Doctor to regenerate into him so that he can go around. Sorry, yeah, so that. Okay, so yeah, the Master and the Doctor are each in a box, and the Master uses the Cyberman planet to power the whole thing. And then the Doctor starts regenerating and just regenerates, and now Sacha Dhawan is the Doctor. Like, the Doctor regenerates into Sacha Dhawan. And it's basically just
don't forget that also has to happen in the past, apparently.
Oh yeah. This needs to happen in 1916 for very important story reasons.
Did that scene take place in 1916?
Yeah.
So that he could be Rasputin, so they could play Boney M and have a disco.
So
Yes.
I mean, I was expecting first of all for this
planet up until the very end was in 1916.
Yeah. So I was very ready for there to be like two Masters after this, like one Master who was like, you know, Rasputin, who has been the Master the whole time, and one Master who has all of the Doctor's memories but is now sort of like, you know, becoming the Master, has got like the Master's mind now. But no, it is basically just a.
I was surprised they didn't do that.
Well, yeah,
it's just because it felt like.
Because the Master's whole body was just dormant in that chamber, wasn't it?
It's just a transfer of consciousness. It's not actually like the Doctor regenerates into the Master. Mm-hmm. It's just because the Master has now body swapped with the Doctor, but also turned her body into his body, making it kind of pointless. I do like it as a way to fuck with them.
I was half expecting her to be trapped in Rasputin body. That's what I was expecting.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I was expecting Rasputin to wake up and it like be.
Well, I didn't necessarily expect that. I more just thought that there were going to be just two Sacha Dhawan Masters knocking about, but except one's dressed as 13. That's what I thought it was going to be. But then again, I guess that would be another plot point, a second Master.
I also, in terms of the Master's plan as well, because the Master's whole plan is to tarnish the name of the Doctor So he figures the best way
And
to
they
do
say
that.
cancel culture doesn't exist.
They say the best way to do that. So what they do is what do you call it? Like he just goes to a random conflict and like blows it up. It's like, oh, that I've done my job now. The Doctor's
He
reputation.
didn't even do that. He just kind of went to a war and was like, "Yeah, that was me."
Yeah, because they don't have time to flesh out him fucking stuff up for the Doctor.
That's not really unrealistic for him to go to a conflict and take
I
accountability.
know,
for
but
it.
it's not. It's
it
just
feels
strange.
very rushed. For like the concept of I'm going to ruin the Doctor's reputation, it feels like it needed something a bit more than just.
The Master's plan amounted to him taking the Doctor's form so he could go around like lying to people. And that was his plan, telling lies.
Metal, you've not spoken for 2 hours. Please continue with your thought.
People keep cutting me off.
That was always going to happen.
Metal, go.
So
I was just
why were there random 2 planets shooting a lot of rockets at each other? It's just a random place that's just there. It's like, that was me. I'm evil.
Yeah, pretty much. I think that's what happened.
That's in 2017 when the Las Vegas shooting happened. ISIS immediately claimed responsibility. So like, immediately claiming responsibility for something you didn't do. That is like a realistic.
But like, okay, so the issue that I'm gonna take with this is like, I don't even think it's particularly good. Like, he could have, the whole time, the Master could have gone around saying, I'm the Doctor and I'm evil. Fuck you. I'm the Doctor, by the way. Like, he could have cosplayed 13 and gone and said that to people the whole time. This isn't any more effective than him doing that. I like the idea of him taking the Doctor's body and using that to traumatize, like deliberately using that to traumatize the Doctor's friends and the Doctor herself. But that plan doesn't actually help his other plan in any way. It's just something else he's doing.
Dresses up as 13 and flies around in a blonde wig.
You just wanted to cosplay for 20 minutes, and you know what? I respect that.
It was whole plan.
Hold up.
Yeah, actually, they should have put him in a blonde wig.
His whole plan
Absolutely.
to ruin a reputation and kill her. That was his whole plan. That was why he did everything. That was his plan. That was his plan. Objective.
Get the Doctor cancelled, yes.
The Dalek's master plan.
That is so lame. It's so lame. Why not just shoot a big laser at the Earth, kill the Doctor, and then dress up as her? Like that. Like the whole thing would be accomplished way easier than this elaborate.
Because
I like the other thing that they're doing. I like the idea that the Master, because it's this really big violation, right? Of just taking the Doctor's body and then assuming her identity and like threatening her friends to be okay with it and to come along with him. It's this massive violation, and it's really disturbing, and it gets under your skin. And I totally believe that it's something that he would do to fuck with these people because he doesn't like them. I'm happy with that. It just doesn't connect to the other aspect of his plan in any way, because at any time he could have gone in his TARDIS and pretended to be the Doctor.
Well, see, the thing is, Jay, about that, Jay, is that the whole point of it, at least from how I picked up on it, is specifically so that the Doctor is out of the picture. It's like, if he just dresses up as her, then the Doctor can still fly in and stop them and be like, no, I'm the Doctor. But like, in what he does, he gets her out of the picture.
To be fair, I think I do agree with, I think it was Vera who said it earlier, like, the Master is like an inherently like illogical person. So his plan being somewhat illogical kind of checks out for that character in particular. I suppose the issue is that that's barely indistinguishable from the rest of the plans done by the rest of the villains in most of this era, to be fair. But I think for the Master, him being like, you know what, I'm just going to like change into the Doctor for shits and giggles and do a bunch of random stuff. I buy that this Master would do that.
Why they should have gone further and made him put on a blonde wig.
I think
absolutely. Yes.
Honestly, I think there's a version of, again, it's one of those ideas that if you just had that be the episode, just the Master taking the Doctor's body for a joyride, that would have been such a fun episode. But once again, it doesn't have enough time to do that. So what
you could have leaned into the centenary aspects there. You could have had the Master like cosplaying as a Doctor, going back to like sites of historical significance to the show, and then being like, "Hi, I'm the Doctor. I know I saved you before, but now I'm gonna fuck you up."
I thought what you were gonna do was make him go into like different Doctor Who stories. So you get him to go into like Earthshock, dressed up as the Cyberman who kills Adric, or make sure that he can't pilot the ship. Or
well, like, the Great Intelligence kind of already did that, going back to like actual Doctor Who things.
That's true.
Yeah.
I would watch that.
I guess what I want to say about the Master's plan, right, is that I guess I can't put, because like there's no like single thing that I can put my finger on it of like this doesn't work about I don't believe he would do this or anything like that. But there's just this moment where you watch what he's done, right? He's body swapped with her to pretend to be her. But in the same time, he's made it so that she looks exactly like him. So that defeats the purpose of that. It's just this moment of like, hang on, no, that's not helpful to your plan. Where like, okay, I believe he would do all of this. Sure, actually, you know what? And I don't think this is a criticism of the episode story or the characterization of the characters. It just felt weird to see.
The whole universe knows what the Doctor looks like. It could have just been another incarnation.
Yeah.
Could it be rewritten so that the Master, instead of the Doctor taking the Doctor's bot and regenerating the Doctor into him, would it not have just made more sense for the Master to regenerate into her?
Yeah, that would. That would have like that would have less of like the violation feeling, you know. That would.
I guess.
I really do like conceptually what they do with having the Master take the Doctor's body.
What it boils down for me is like with a lot of other concepts. My biggest issue with this episode, right? I could summarize it in like one sentence: some great ideas, some fantastic stuff that I loved, but there's just not enough time. There's just not enough time for it.
They could have made it good by just having the Master take over her already present regeneration form. Then we could have had Jodie playing evil. That would be really interesting.
No, but like as Jay said, you wouldn't get the unsettling angle that Sasha does, which is admittedly really cool. So yeah, it's weird. It's a weird one.
That was meant to be unsettling.
I don't know. I think that works.
I don't feel very unsettled. I just feel like, oh, that guy. Yeah.
I disagree.
I didn't really feel unsettled either, and it probably would have been more unsettling if they had put him in a wig and made him do the whole Buffalo Bill dance.
You get unsettled really easy.
I don't think maybe unsettling is the wrong word.
So, okay.
It's not what we were talking about before.
I think that a lot of this might be. I think that a lot of this might just be that you're not attached to the characters. Like, yeah, fair, me neither. But like, I feel like if you saw this done to a character that you really cared about and empathized with and cared about what happened to them, that like it surely would be a fairly disturbing thing to see.
Maybe I would care.
I mean, is the thought of someone doing that to you not scary?
Maybe I would care if they had the same face, and it was taking the personality taking over. Like I just see this as the Master just fucking around. I don't see
but the doctor is
being controlled.
Yeah, but the doctor is absent. Like the Doctor is now gone, right? The Doctor has in essence been killed, and the Master has. But there's to add insult to the injury, the Master is now there, having taken her place and going around insisting that he is her.
Yeah. And technically he's right, which makes it worse. Like technically, yeah.
What a fucking.
Well, on technicality, he is the next incarnation of the Doctor.
One is actually 14. Jodie is 13.
It's a great way to symbolize that you have murdered someone. To rub it in the face of the people who
and
love
you
them.
wear their skin and you go around and saying, "Hey, aren't I a prick?"
I think maybe unsettling is the wrong word, but I think there is something really quite twisted about it, which I really liked. And
I think I'd use the word unsettling. Maybe not necessarily in how it played out, but it's definitely unsettling, at least conceptually. At least I think.
I found it unsettling. I think this is genuinely I think this is genuinely the episode where I empathized most with the protagonist characters, where I was like, "Oh, damn, okay, like I actually really understand Yaz's pain here. Cool, that's." I've never before found myself feeling what Yaz is feeling watching an episode of the Chibnall era.
You care about Yaz? You care about fucking Yaz?
No, but
I don't care about Yaz. That's why this is impressive.
Imagine, right? Your friend that you've known for years, all of a sudden just gets transformed into an evil maniac through completely against their will, is to change into a different person. And they're just forcing you along to be like, I'm that person now. deal with it. That would be quite traumatic, at least for you as the person in that scenario. Like,
I think Jay's right though. Like, if you're not attached to this cast of characters, then it's definitely not going to hit as hard.
I don't know. I'm not, and I felt.
So I mean, what we're describing is, of course, just like it's just how we all emotionally reacted to the episode, and that's
unsettling isn't the word I'd use. The word I'd use is uncanny.
Sure.
Maybe that is a better word. I still think it worked though.
Visually, I didn't think it did because it just looked like Sasha dressed up differently.
I think it also. I think
I already know the characters, so
I think it also works more in terms of for this incarnation because the Doctor in this life is more of an innocent than any other, really. This Doctor is sort of and I don't really agree with his characterization really at all, but like. This Doctor comes off as genuinely innocent and like genuinely quite childlike to the core, and to see this done to her is really unnerving, particularly for that reason. Now, like, I don't like the Doctor being childish right down to the core in terms of like immature to the core and innocent to the core. But like
that was my issue with late series Matt Smith Doctor. They kind of made him childish for some fucking reason.
Childish? He wasn't childish. He was a fucking sex pest in Series 7.
Blair, Blair, don't bring Series 7B into this, Blair. I will fight all of you.
The series where Matt Smith was a sex offender. I will fight you
on the beach.
Tell you what would have made it even more unsettling is if they regenerated the Master into the Doctor's body and it was a completely different actor playing the Doctor/Master, and it was like someone who's like bald and like with like really weird skin, who's like the most disturbing, creepy thing that you can think of. Basically, they cast Anthony Hopkins as the Doctor Master.
Nah, I want to see the crispy Doctor.
The crispy Doctor.
Yeah, that would be fun. I was going to say something, and I am lost on what I was going to say. That's what it was. We were talking about, imagine if that a person changed into someone else. I can't really imagine this premise with another Doctor, because it comes back to what you were saying, Jay, of like this Doctor is so innocent that it almost feels wrong. Like, I don't know, because I can't really imagine, like, say for example we apply this to another, Doctor Master partnership, say 12 and Missy, for instance. If Missy turned into 12, you'd just sort of be like, fair enough. You'd be like, oh, that's interesting, cool. Whereas
I think it also depends on like the innocence of the innocence that Yaz perceives in the Doctor, and that it would require a particular type of companion Doctor dynamic.
I guess so.
On top of that,
I just can't really imagine this dynamic working that well with any other any other iteration of these characters. So I think I'll give it to them that I think they crafted a scenario that worked for the characters that were in the stories, which I don't always think is the case in this era.
Yeah.
I think often they will have plots that the characters exist in, but the characters themselves feel disconnected from events. I don't think that was the case here. I felt that given the plot that they had, even if I don't like, even if I'm not a huge fan of the characters, it worked for the characters that were on display.
You know what I think it could work with? Someone in chat mentioned this, suggested this, and they're so right, is that I don't know if anyone has listened to them, because you kind of have to listen to his audios for this to really hit home, I guess. But I think this could work with basically any Doctor companion pairing with the Jacoby Master as a really disturbing thing, just because of his energy.
I've heard clips of the
Jacoby Doctor combo. It depends on the Doctor, the companion, and the Master.
Imagine
it's not exclusive to Jodie, Dwan.
Oh, I've thought of a good one. Jacoby Master with Troughton. That'd be an.
But like,
that'd be an
as a character, he tends to have this as a character, he has this sort of whole thing of like being friendly to people and being genuinely quite nice and warm, but he has no actual warmth in him, and it's all an act that he is using to get to them, and whatever his goals are, once he drops the axe, are probably going to be quite sinister. So he's always a sinister character to watch, which is why I think he'd work here. But like,
I saw someone in chat say that it could have worked with Ten and Sim. Would it? I feel like they're too similar in terms of.
Nah, that's a good. You're right, Harris. They're way too similar. I don't
Well,
know.
they can
I
similar.
don't think it'd feel much different.
They're kind of just like opposite sides of the same coin. I feel as though I guess to a degree you could say that about like Sasha and Jodie, but I don't know. I feel like because this master is just so insane and this doctor is just so like I'm nice, it just sort of that contrast works well. Whereas Tennant's whole god complex thing is kind of like directly paralleled in the master. The master is basically what if the doctor went, all the way.
Honestly, alternative, ditch the master completely and use the fact that we've now got Tegan back as an excuse to bring back the Mara and have the Mara do it.
What the fuck?
The Mara's Mara plan.
The Dalek's Mara plan.
Dalek's Mara plan.
I think that'd be pretty neat, personally. I think the Mara should come back. I think the Mara's underrated. I don't know what more you do with it, but I think it's pretty cool.
I feel like
I'm gonna lick it.
Is everyone? Wait, what? Are you gonna lick it?
I'm gonna lick the Mara.
Can we talk? I know that we've been talking about the Master's plan, but is there much more to say? I feel like we've.
Jay, have we finished about the Master's plan yet? Have you got everything you wanted to say?
I mean, I think we've done the Master's plan, right? Then we get to him getting stopped.
Yeah. Also,
nice.
am I the only one who felt that the death at the end felt a bit like tacked on? I kind of forgot we were in a regeneration story until they had the laser. Also,
They had the laser, and the Master tied the Doctor's shoelaces together,
Yeah.
and then got hit in the face by the laser.
How exactly did the Master doing that to kill her work? Because the thing he shot, no, but did he even shoot the creature? What he shot them with? It was the tissue compressor, right? So why would that redirect the laser to the
tissue
Doctor?
compressor apparently controls it, but I don't know how. They've never established that he controls the quaranx or whatever it's called.
I mean,
He just shot the tissue compressor vaguely in a direction, and that caused the laser to divert towards the Doctor.
Confused me because I rewatched it. It's like, how is he controlling it? Because that's not been suggested at all.
I think it would have been more effective if the Master literally just shot the Doctor with the tissue compressor, and her body's trying to compress, and the regeneration energy that's being caused by it won't let her, and it's fucking her up. I think that would have been better.
Yeah, Jay, I think our idea of having someone shoot the Doctor in the face, that would have been better.
The Master just pulls out a 12-gauge shotgun.
Yes, just pulls.
I think what they should have done is gone to a swimming pool. Oh no, gone to the beach, right? Because that's what this whole year has been doing. And Tegan's there, and the Doctor drowns, and Tegan goes, "Face it, yes, she's drowned." And then that's what I would do.
I'm still waiting for a payoff on Tennant's suggestion that he just tripped on a brick.
Sorry for all the banging. My keyboard is completely shit its pants, and I can't even fucking do anything.
That's okay.
I'm seeing people in the chat. I'm seeing people in the chat talk about how the forced regen wore out the Master, so should have wore out the Doctor. But I don't think that's why the Master quote unquote dies at the end. It's because Vinda shot him, right? It's not because of the forced regenerations. It's because Vinda shot him.
So I think it should have been. I think it should have been because of the forced regenerations, but it wasn't, right? It should have been.
Yeah,
that's an element of the story. It needs to be. Oh, I can't actually fully recover from this.
I agree wholeheartedly. Yeah, I'm just saying that I don't think that was meant to be the case. I think it's because Vinda shot him.
Does Jodie not say though? Does Jodie not say? After all you've put your body through, it's giving up on you.
Oh, no, yes, she does, doesn't she? Yeah, that's right.
I swear.
That's right, yeah. No, you are right, yeah.
So it does feel so tacked on that the Master uses some completely unestablished means out of just it's something that, and let's be honest, something he could do most of the time is just pull out a weapon and kill the Doctor. He's always armed. This is something he could do at any time. Just at the end of the story, he's like, all right, I'm going to kill it. And then he does. And it's not a consequence of anything that happens in the story. It's not him finally getting the opportunity. It's just, the Doctor needs to die now, so we'll have him have be shot.
Well, the way in which it happens doesn't even make sense. you'd think that the Master would shoot the Doctor again, like I say, with the tissue compressor, but instead they really go around the houses a bit and like, okay, so I'm going to shoot the tissue compressor at this thing, and it's going to redirect its big fuck off laser at the Doctor.
Because I assume that the tissue compressor would make for a really it would either just kill her or make for a really weird regeneration scene.
I can imagine a regeneration where she's like shrinking and growing, like parts of her body are warping in size and stuff. I can imagine like a really trippy effect.
Well, I don't imagine that that's what they want to do though, so I don't think they would go with the
thing is though, and once again it proves that Vinder is entirely pointless in this story. Like, Vinder does not need to be here because all he does is
he's the one who held up the Master and shot her, so if anything, Vinder's the one who saved the day. If anything, he was the most important character.
Saying is, if we just had it so that machine wore his body out, which is what's implied in the script anyway, Vinder literally does not need to be here. You could literally just have it be that, the regeneration machine causes the regenerations.
I don't know what you're talking about. Vinder's clearly the one who saved the day. Vinder's clearly the hero of the whole Chibnall era. It's right there on screen, Towers. Come on.
I'm biased. I want Vinder out of the story just so he doesn't show up in the trailers, and I don't have a minor heart attack for 2 weeks thinking, oh my god, they are actually going to do that thing where his kid turns out to be...
I thought they might do that.
I have been dreading that ever since that trailer because I remember that freaking rumor. And I had heard about the entire Timeless Child idea like months before that episode aired, and I dismissed it. And then it happened, and so like I would just have removed him so I didn't panic.
Yeah, I also just think, like, did anyone else find it weird, right, that she says at the end of the episode, oh, how's the family, by the way? And he just doesn't get to answer. Like, so, oh, anyway, bye. Right?
Yeah, Jay, Jay, they didn't do our idea where it was just sort of like he says, okay, I'm going to go and see my family now. And he opens a portal and it's a purple planet. And then it's like, oh...
Yeah,
he opens a portal when he steps through, and it's just a Gallifreyan citadel.
If you're a fan of this era and you genuinely care about Vinder and Bell and
people care about
whatever,
Vinder.
I mean,
that's a terrible person, and Tharies hates you.
That's not what I'm saying, Stuart. Don't drag me down with you.
Everyone, quickly go and private quote tweet Tharies.
No! In the words of Wilfred, it's happening again. It's happening again.
Private quote tweets. That's what they called them last time.
No.
Holy fuck.
So
my equivalent to turn left is being permanently quote tweeted. Just never being
quote tweeted into oblivion. Like you get quote tweeted off of Twitter.
What anyone says, it's just constant.
For the rest of your entire life on Twitter, whenever you check who's retweeted you, it's always blank. It's always no quote tweets.
That's my heaven sent moment. No matter what I tweet, there's always like a bunch of quote tweets that I can't see, and it just happens over and over again. Sorry, that was a complete tangent. What were we talking about?
I don't know.
Well, we were talking about the lead up to the regeneration and the cause of the regeneration. Hey guys, the Doctor regenerated in the story. How do we feel about that?
It was alright. It was one of the only good scenes in the episode. The regeneration scene was actually good.
I really liked her final line. Her final line suits her to a T.
I thought you said the Master regenerated for a hot second. I was like, what? No. The Doctor's regen was really nicely shot. Like it's really, really
I
nice.
I have a complaint about it.
I like the zoom out.
Of course you do.
What complaint do you have?
Quote tweet them.
Quote tweet them all. Get ready to quote tweet me. It was shot in green screen in a studio and it looks bad. I mean, it looks really pretty, but it looks bad. Like you can tell. I wish they would just go outside somewhere to film the outside scenes.
I do love because someone.
You going outside.
My complaint isn't even that it's green screen. My complaint is that it takes place on like the art-shaped cliff thing that's on every Windows 10 default background. They shot it there. Jodie regenerated on the Windows 10 cliff.
To be fair,
that was to foreshadow who she was regenerating into.
The regeneration.
Someone pointed out on Twitter that do you notice that when Jodie's regeneration is happening, like the bit that's actually being shot by the current team, it's all shot in close-ups, right? And then the second the pickups get shot with Tennant, and Rachel Talalay has since confirmed that she shot those scenes. The close-ups are just instantly gone. Like it's almost like you can see the change in direction as the regeneration goes on. I just don't know. I just thought
R.I.P. the Chibnall era weird close-ups.
The regeneration looks good, but it looks like it came out of Thor: Love and Thunder. Like it's pretty visually, but like Thor: Love
I don't
and
know. I
Thunder
thought it looked alright. Maybe I'm just numb to the fact that
I'm
they
talking
do like
about
this
the color
firework
grading
effect.
and the weird direction of Thor: Love and Thunder.
It's because it's like a sun's. Oh, you talk about Thor: Love and Thunder. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm talking about how it's directed and the color grading looks very similar to the direction color grading in Thor: Love and Thunder.
to be fair, I didn't bother watching Thor: Love and Thunder.
That's good. You shouldn't watch Thor: Love and Thunder.
Again,
don't do that.
Again, I'm the only person on the internet who actually liked that movie. But and on that contrarian note, I enjoyed it. But on that contrarian note, I actually have to bow out because I'm gonna have to. I need to make my kids dinner soon. So I hope
that's fair enough.
Yes, I am old.
Since when? Since fucking when? When did this happen? I was like a fan of you like 5 years ago. When the fuck did this happen?
I already had a kid by then.
I stopped. I fell out of. I stopped watching your stuff. When did you have a kid?
Literally the whole. Literally the only reason Vera reviewed Steven Universe was to watch it with her daughter.
How old is your daughter?
I have an 11-year-old.
What? Since fucking when?
What do you mean since when? That's since when is self-explanatory in this one, Blair.
Yeah.
Since 11 years ago.
Blair's mind is just blown by the fact that people's lives exist outside of YouTube.
No, it's not that. I just didn't think. I thought you were like in your late 20s. I didn't think you had a kid.
Hey Blair, this will blow your mind. This will blow your mind. I also have a kid. I also have.
No, you don't. I thought you were like in your late.
Or do I? You don't know.
Wait. You guys don't have kids?
I'm 1,000 years old. And you're all my children.
I have parents.
That tracks.
Finally.
All right. Anyways, thanks for having me on. Have fun, everybody.
Goodbye.
It's been lovely.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Nice talking to you, Vera.
Bye.
She was the fucking
And
kid?
then there was
When did this happen?
She's so
When did the
cool.
fuck did this happen?
She got.
So yeah, in conclusion, you're all my children, and I give birth to you all.
I knew it.
21, 12.
So,
And I
so
you
we are all the timeless children.
Yes, you are all
So,
children.
We're talking about the regeneration. I'm keeping the stream on track. I've overstuffed it, so it's difficult to keep it on course. But I'm trying my best.
Exactly, like good fucking luck.
Yeah, that was
the point. That was the whole point. The whole point was overstuffing the stream as a joke, and now we're dealing with the consequences of that joke.
Yeah, everyone keeps getting cut out. At least.
That makes it funnier. I love the idea that the JXE Empress of Milk viewers are going to be.
I'm really going to enjoy rewatching this. I enjoy it very much.
Technically speaking, this is kind of like what's it called? This is kind of like when Dan left just now. Vera leaving is kind of like when Dan left at the beginning of the episode. Why did Dan leave at the very beginning of the episode?
I liked that he left at the beginning.
Because he decided that it was all too bad for him now.
Why the beginning?
Because I think they needed to. They just sort of needed him to not be there anymore.
Chibnall had like one small moment of self-awareness where he realized this was too overstuffed, and he was like, "All right, fine, I'll drop one thing."
To be fair, I buy that.
I wanted him to say, "I got to go off on tour. I got a gig booked because I'm a famous comedian now."
Just canonize him as John Bishop himself.
Yeah, just canonize him as that. Yeah.
I buy it in the sense that because Dan was sort of forced along this adventure the whole time. Obviously, yeah, I guess at the end of the Vanquishers, he decides to have a couple of adventures. But, initially, he was never really planning on it. So I kind of buy that he's just, if he comes, to a near-death experience, it's hey, I didn't sign up for this.
Well, he's such,
I'm gonna go home.
He's so, mentally empty as a person that, I could genuinely just view him I could just see him approaching the Doctor of the TARDIS and being yeah, it could be fun. Then the first sign of danger, he's oh no, scary, and leaves. I totally buy that from him.
So what you're saying is he's the Jerry Smith of Doctor Who companions.
He kind of is.
Yeah. The more
it's just kind of a shame because I don't think he had any character development over his time in the TARDIS, did he?
No, and I don't think he was deliberately mentally empty either. I think that was an accident. We accidentally wrote a character who seems to have severe brain damage.
he is probably the most superfluous main Chibnall character, and that says a lot when you're in a lineup with Ryan. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It also says a lot when, despite all that, and despite how all the other companions have been treated, a lot of people are still calling Dan their favorite out of the 4.
Dan is my favorite out of the 4. I kind of
think he's mine, not to be honest.
I think Graham is probably my favorite out of the 4.
Like I fully think that the main things I like about him were an accident, but just because he's like so like vapid. It's really fun to see him react to stuff. Like,
you guys are only praising the straight white male companion.
I did like that one scene at the beginning of the episode where it's like, "This is your train driver Dan speaking. We're gonna be coming to a halt."
And like,
I don't know. It was just kind of cute. I don't know why.
I got the sense from him that was amusing him on like an incredibly simple level, and I loved that for him.
Yeah,
it was endearing, but then didn't you get tonal whiplash when in the next scene it's like, that was a bit scary, wasn't it? It was a wobbly ladder and I almost died.
No, because like I don't feel like he has different moods. Like,
I agree with what John said in chat, which is that Dan is actually Yaz's companion.
What you basically see Dan as is Patrick from SpongeBob.
Yes.
Yes.
Like, he doesn't have different moods. I think he just objectively noticed the fact that, that could have killed me. I'm gonna go, I guess. Like,
shit is actually dangerous. What the fuck? I'm out of here.
Yeah, like metal, like just you would enjoy seeing this character just this character's highlights for the previous 6 episodes, because like, again, I do think it's all a mistake. I don't think they did this on purpose, but like, he's always in the same mood. Like, he's always just sort of going like, "All right, this is your train driver Dan speaking." Like, that's his only mood.
Look, there's a wobbly ladder.
And like, it's that regardless of whether he's like having just like lunch with a friend, or if he's having like, or if he's like he's on a boat and a sea monster is about to eat him. He's just like, "Oh, what's that?" You're like. And it's really entertaining, but I wish they'd done it on purpose.
Someone in the chat said himbo, right? So that is what he is. He is a himbo in the best way.
Like Hassan Piker.
Oh, Hassan Piker, Doctor Who companion when?
I don't know. I just heard my ex-boyfriend called Hassan Piker himbo a lot.
Well, yeah,
but
himbos the problem with that is that himbos are supposed to be like nice people.
I would watch Dan the Twitch streamer. I want that.
Oh yeah, I would watch Dan's Twitch streams.
Can't wait to watch
Dan's gonna make reaction live streams to people talking about the Doctor.
Why can't that be a show? Hello, it's me, Dan. Today we're gonna be just chatting, maybe playing some Fortnite.
By the way, you have no idea how big of a missed opportunity it was to not end the episode on another YouTube video by Ryan.
Oh yeah, that's the point.
That would require Toes and Coltet want anything to do with Doctor Who after he.
Do you think he's sworn off it? Do you think he's actually like?
I do not get the vibe he is ever gonna come back.
You end it on Dan doing a Twitch stream where he's live reacting to Ryan's videos from The Woman Who Fell to Earth.
Why did he?
Except he's not even in the shot because he's off screen taking a piss while the video plays.
I remember Yaz and the Doctor talking about this lad. I remember it. Thank you, Laserbeam65 for the.
He's in Patagonia now.
I loved. That
I made friends with his granddad.
I loved that so much. I love how nonchalantly they're just like, yeah, Ryan's in Patagonia.
And then there's just no more mention of it whatsoever.
That's the fun thing for me is that I missed that line, so I'm just this is news to me, but like that's how consequential it was.
It was totally the I have to go now. My planet needs me.
Yeah. I feel like we probably already talked about it. Like Toast and Cole, he surely would have been asked to come back, right? Like surely there would have been some kind of scheduling conflict.
Yeah,
certainly.
Was it a scheduling conflict, or did you think a John Boyega types?
No, I do think they just generally couldn't be bothered to ask him.
I think they could have asked him. I just think he doesn't want to do Doctor Who again.
Yeah, like, I wouldn't be shocked if he feels mistreated by the show. Like, if he left because he wasn't having a good time on it, and then he doesn't want to come back, that makes sense to me as a reason that he's not here.
Well, that and it is a running joke among like the community now. It's like, I miss my nan.
But it's fair enough. It's just like the fact that we had like literally every Chibnall companion, including Graham, except Ryan. Like he feels like a really weird exclusion now because of that. Like it feels like something's missing.
That the show views Ryan as irrelevant as I do now. I just think that's quite funny.
Even though like Ryan is like the only one they tried to give a semblance of an actual arc to, getting over his fear of ladders and like
they tried to give an arc to Graham with the stanza.
I buy
calling Graham granddad.
I buy Graham more with like getting over the death of Grace than I do Ryan, to be fair.
Why is the black person's arc learning how to play basketball?
So get into that.
I don't know, man.
Can we talk about? Okay, I need to talk about this. I need to get this off my chest, right? I need to talk about this.
Yeah,
Thasmin,
go on.
Right.
Right.
Thasmin.
I am so glad you brought that up.
I want to talk about Thasmin because they didn't kiss. Multiple boys, I thought they were going to do it, and for the record, I don't ship it like at all. But do you know what was even funnier? People on Twitter, do you know when Yaz is carrying the Doctor at the end?
Right.
People were seeing her slightly move her head towards hers and said, "Oh, she kissed her on the cheek," and it's like, no, she didn't. It's like,
you know what, Tharis? I'm actually so glad you brought that up because it made me think. Like, I'm literally exactly the same. It's like I wouldn't even necessarily have wanted them to like get together, but it just felt so weird that they didn't do a kiss because it's naturally like where we thought they were going. And I also find it interesting how like we brought back a character like Tegan and Ace, who both are like I'm pretty sure are canonically sapphic. I'm pretty sure RTD and his
well, not anymore. R.I.P.
Canonized that Tegan and Nissa together, right?
Tegan seems retcon because of the whole husband thing.
Yeah, exactly. Like wiping over that, saying like Tegan had husbands, and it's like if that's what he wanted to do, it's whatever. But it's also like
Graham as well. So I don't know. I feel like he has just straightified.
It's singing. I'm not gonna like necessarily accuse Chibnall of this myself, but I'm just looking at these weird decisions, and I'm like, are you trying to be accused of queer baiting? I'm not even necessarily saying that I would accuse you of that.
This
but, like,
story now goes.
Are you trying to make people flip out on Twitter and call you that and private quote tweet you into oblivion?
This story. That what you're going for? The progression of this story is now, from episode to episode, we have the Doctor and Yaz. They just chill out for most of the series. Then Yaz sort of goes. Realizes that she has feelings for the Doctor. The Doctor she's like, hey, I kind of maybe, like you, Doctor. And the Doctor's like, well, like, I'm not really open to that kind of thing. But, like, if it was going to be with anyone, it would be with you. All right, fuck off. That's the story. Yeah.
I just find it so mad that, like, RTD, when he did his Farewell Sarah Jane thing, he went out of his way to make it clear that, yes, Tegan and Nissa were a thing. And you've got RTD coming in now as, like, showrunner, so there will have been communication between them. But then Chibnall makes that conscious decision to go out of his way to make it so that was no longer the case. Yeah. It just seems like a really weird decision.
You did not need that husband's line in there. That was completely not in any way important.
Literally, if all there was when Tegan makes the comment to the Doctor, like, I know you said woman, but didn't expect it young. That's like really queer coded. I think that would have done just fine, but then he had to throw the husband's line in. Again, I'm not saying I would accuse him of queer baiting, but it does really piss me off.
So that line was really weird to me as well. That like she's surprised that the Doctor is young because like the Doctor was young when you knew him, Tegan.
Yeah, Peter Davison was the youngest one, Tegan. What do you mean?
I think that's more related to like she's gotten older now.
Maybe.
I suppose, yeah.
Like, people are saying she could be bi, but like again, where was the whole Nissa and Tegan? Why was that not referenced? Again, it doesn't necessarily have to be. Well, but they really didn't.
No, it's just a bit odd, isn't it?
One thing I'll say about that, right? It's not.
I'm probably getting a bit too heated over it, but I just find it annoying.
Janet Fielding did say that like she's never really bought the ship, and Chris Chibnall sat down with both Janet Fielding and Sophie Aldred and said, "Where do you think your characters are at now?" So I think that's partially the reason.
Hey, that's a clever approach. Honestly, I approve of that.
Honestly,
I mean, if that's the case, that's fair.
I don't mind it as much with Ace and Tegan. Frankly, I'm more shocked by the fact that people for like ages have been telling me what like good representation is. And look, I'm not going to try and speak on the authority of like any groups I don't represent, but I just don't see how officially introducing something 2 episodes before the end of the series and then not even fully committing to it by the end
Yeah, it's really
He's
funny.
Exactly. That's another.
I
I completely forgot to bring up again. Chibnall, are you trying to get accused of queer baiting? How are you going to spend 2 episodes saying that shit up and then just not acknowledge it in the final?
Back to what we were saying earlier, where Chibnall tried so hard to appease the fans, so he
in the end it didn't even matter.
Because it was Jodie who like brought the idea to him, didn't she?
He put the 1000 stuff in there because he was like, "Oh, the fans might like this," but then again,
I think it was Jodie that suggested it to him, didn't she?
Yeah, probably. But like, if Jodie was like, "Oh, hey, I see all this art on Twitter," you know, they all seem to like this, and he was like, "Oh, maybe I'll write a bit in about it," but it wasn't the story.
I have to say,
can we just have a brief applause for that attempt at Jodie's accent?
Thank you.
I have to say that this entire episode feels like a big middle finger to a good portion of the defenses of the show.
Yeah, it does actually.
A portion of them.
A
good portion of the defenses were completely annihilated, like the whole Stenza thing, the timeless
To be
child
fair,
thing.
to be fair,
but Harry said earlier, the people that care about that stuff are terrible.
To be fair, no, Blair.
You can't record that into my mind. No.
To be fair, half of those most of those defenses can be summarized as no, but it's going somewhere.
Yeah,
and it's like no, it never was actually. To
be fair, I have seen obviously because
I mean, you didn't know that it wasn't going somewhere.
I was relatively confident it wasn't going anywhere.
I mean,
well, yeah, you couldn't have actually proved that. You couldn't have actually made a functioning argument out of your conviction that could have happened.
3 eyes in one breath makes you sound rather egotistical, Faries.
What I was trying to say was, in terms of, I've seen a lot of the stands of this era. Its most ardent defenders even turn around and be like, "So you know all this stuff that we've been defending for like 5 years? Yeah. You're not going to give us anything for it?" Like, because I've seen people be like, "I've defended Chibnall all this time. You know, I've defended Thasmin this whole time, and it doesn't even get confirmation on screen." When in like 2005 you have Captain Jack and the Ninth Doctor kissing, it's like, it just feels so, again, it feels like a gesture to the fans without any thought really being put into it.
I genuinely find it so funny that this is the era that gets called woke, when Chibnall is very clearly very scared of putting queer stuff on screen.
Yeah. It feels like they're tiptoeing around it as much as they can.
And I don't even want to get too mad about like the whole queer baiting thing. It's just more that like it's what was set up.
What was that, Stuart?
When Yaz is carrying the Doctor back into the TARDIS, they should have played "Wind Beneath My Wings."
They should have played "You Raise Me Up" by Josh Groban as she gets her up and carries her.
They should have played "Gangnam Style" by Psy.
They should have played "I Will Rise Up" from Rosa.
Oh God!
She picks her up, and I will rise up.
Rise like the waves, rise up.
Oh, that would have been fucking miserable. Again, you wouldn't believe at the start of the stream I said I enjoyed this episode, would you?
Yeah, I still enjoyed it, even though we've been ribbing on it.
There's lots of stuff to complain about, but it's at the same time there's lots of stuff to talk about, and talking about it is the interesting bit at the moment.
At the end of the day, as much as I can pick holes in it forever, I still enjoy it. And in the end, isn't that what's important?
To be fair, I literally said in my tweets, if I did try to break this down and analyze it, then it would completely fall under scrutiny. But like I had a really fun ride, and like I guess that's all that counts.
The thing is that I'm worried about here for a lot of people is that I suspect this isn't going to have particularly strong rewatch value or like longevity value. I think just like there are stories that I've enjoyed a lot on first watch, but the more I think about what they did for the world and for the characters, the more I'm like, okay, but the memory sours.
They should have played.
Day of the Doctor is one of those for me, and I'm not going to stand here and outline all of my criticisms of Day of the Doctor right now, but like I really adored that when I first saw it. I was just like, fuck yeah, that was amazing. And with every passing year, the more I think about it, I was also 13 or 14, but like. With every passing year, it has been like, okay, but what about? Oh yeah, but okay. I know I just don't really like that it exists because, like, sure, it was a nice little bit of joy for me at the time, but in the long term, it's done nothing for me.
Hey, remember when Doctor Who celebrated its 50th anniversary, 50 whole years, and they only focused on like everything from like 2005 onward, like
Well,
the
2006
50th
onward.
anniversary, and they focused on it.
I do
Hey,
feel
remember
like
when Doctor Who was good?
and maybe that's
Aw.
part of the reason why I'm struggling to really be mad at this as well, because to some extent it is the last one. So I'm kind of just like, what's the point?
Well, yeah,
Do you
and
know
it
what I
didn't.
mean? It's like,
Yeah, I
didn't
found
do
that recently when I
anything-
revisited Asylum of the Daleks in a video. I did Asylum of the Daleks in a video, which I remember
Yeah.
really hating at the time, but then I rewatched it and I'm just like, this is completely inoffensive because it doesn't matter anymore.
that's the
Yeah.
thing. I had my my
Oh my
Asylum of the Daleks moment, if you will, with Legend of the Sea Devils. I was like, this is fucking hot garbage, and this is like one of the worst things that I think I've ever seen. In years to come, I will probably just see it as an episode that's a bit shit, and I just won't care. Do you know what I mean? It's like, at the end
Do you
of the day,
reckon-
Especially
Do you
because
reckon
the
back in
show
the
is
80s?
probably, especially because the show has gone back to RTD, and well, you know, depending on your opinions of his writing, recover might not be the right word, but it's certainly, I really like his writing, and I think I would call what's going to happen to the show, hopefully next, a recovery. So,
an improvement
looking
at the
back,
very least.
looking
Rise
back,
of Doctor Who.
when this is happening to Doctor Who, and you're like, oh no, this is where it's going. There's no end in sight. You know, series 11 and 12, when this was just what Doctor Who was now, it was really upsetting to see like the show going this way. And you know, as far as it could have gone, it could have just got worse until it ended, and that would have been it. But now we know that it's gonna do something else. So watching this just sort of feels like, well, you know, they didn't do anything with catastrophic implications for the future. They've not like horrifically shit on anything
I think
particularly.
if they'd have done the thing that people
Ride,
were,
wasn't it?
if they'd have done the thing that people were speculating about of like Vinder's the Doctor's dad or some shit like that, I'd be
Yeah.
I would be annoyed at it. But right now it's kind of just, it's dumb and you can poke holes in it all day,
By
as
the
we
way,
basically just have.
Why
But
did so many people think that?
ultimately it was just a bit of
Shit. It was a
dumb
bit
fun. No, but I think
Yeah.
the thing is, in years to come, you will probably just see it as like.
Shit, yeah, I'll see it as shit.
I mean, you might see it as shit, but I don't think you'll be. I don't.
Yeah, I
What I'm
think
trying to
that's
get at is, I don't think you'll be as heated about it in like
I'm not
5
that heated
years
about it.
as
It
you are
just-
now.
I think
Oh,
you'll
yeah.
see it as a very pretty shit. I think you'll see it as a shit that came out with kind of a nice shape to it.
No,
you
I
know?
think I'll see it as fucking dog shit. I think it
No,
sucks,
you
and I'll
won't.
always think it sucks. It's fucking garbage.
I love how I've gone
I
over
think-
to the.
no,
stream.
I think I'm also gonna see it. I think I'm also gonna see it as like shit. I think I'm also gonna see it as
Thank you,
shit,
Jay.
right? But like,
Thank you, Jay, for being the only sensible person in this.
the
call.
problem is that I won't
just can't
I
bring
won't
myself to get
care.
mad at it.
Thing is, because I think the line everyone else here is drawing is like the idea that to see something as dog shit, you have to be mad about it. And I think no, it's just gonna be like,
not what I'm
certainly for
saying,
me
like-
in the future, like right, 20 years from now, I'll be like, that was dog shit, but oh well, like.
I'm not really mad at like
No,
Orphan 55. I can
yeah.
still acknowledge that it's bad. I just think with this, it did enough that I liked to the point where I could be like, I don't know.
That's more where I'm at. I'm at the point where it's like, yeah, I can acknowledge its flaws, but it's like, you know, it's a fun ride. And like Tharish just said, there was plenty of stuff in there that I liked, and I do think was well handled and well done, to the point where like I don't think I can call it outright shit. I think I can call it like badly done on a technical level, but with enough stuff in there that I can confidently say I enjoyed and thought was good, that I can't bring myself to be outright mad at it and call it shit. Again, I'm not saying you do have to get mad at someone to think it's shit. I'm more just saying that, you know, at least for me personally, the good counterbalance the bad, I
No, it
guess.
doesn't.
Yeah.
Yes,
I
like,
think-
I'm different there in
Can-
terms
can I
of like,
just-
yeah, it's just, I think there's like 10 minutes of good stuff in here at a push, and the rest is just shit. And it's like, the way
9
it's shit though
minutes.
isn't particularly offensive, right? It's just shit and self-contained, but it is like, it's not. It's, I don't think it's. I can't say that it counterbalances.
I think Beef Business makes a good point in chat. Very good name, by the way.
You guys are missing the point.
I
Ten
thought
be-
it was better than I was expecting it to
10
be. I
times
was
better than what we
pleasantly
were
surprised.
expecting. That was what I was expecting. I expected
mean, I
a
don't
2
know.
out of 10, and I got a 2 out of 10.
I mean,
it
that's
was
fair
exactly
enough.
what I expected.
It was
fucking
above my
garbage.
expectations because I was just not expecting to enjoy it at all, and that's not where I was. I was enjoying it.
I was
know,
expecting
but
a
that's fair enough.
disjointed mess. I got a disjointed mess. That was what I got.
I expected this to absolutely suck shit, and like I got aspects out of it I enjoyed, so I'm like pretty happy. And I think someone in chat just made a good point. The worst thing that Doctor Who can be is boring. And I do not think it's in any way
no.
The
worst thing that Doctor Who can be is to have catastrophic implications. Like, okay, a boring episode. A boring, so like a boring episode is like so much better than something like Kablam, where we have really shitty moral implications, or the Timeless Children, where
sends the master to a fucking concentration camp.
The Timeless Children isn't just boring; it also has huge implications.
And like,
that's
what I mean.
I'll walk back what I said a little bit. I think it's a bit too broad. I think it depends on the specific case. I think it's too like case by case basis.
The worst thing Doctor Who can be is boring and have bad implications. That's what I would say. Yeah. There we are. But no, I enjoy.
I know that's not what you specifically said, Y-Wing Devil. I'm just
Apparently
kind of pulling from that and like putting my own point on it. I apologize if like you think I was trying to take out
according
context.
To
That's
chat,
not what I meant.
According to chat, I really peaked the microphone there, so sorry about that.
Yeah, it was very loud.
What happened to me like this?
I don't want to. I can see it's getting a bit heated. I guess what I'm saying is I've had a more compelling arc than any of the Chibnall companions, but I've gone through my stew bag full arc.
I've got to say, I'm proud of you, Tharis. This is maturity. Just
thank you, Father.
Treat it as you just watched that, and now you've analysed it. Now it's gone.
I think the main thing we need to focus on above everything is, since when the fuck did Vera have a kid? Like, what the fuck? How long has she had a daughter? How long has she had a fucking kid?
Blair, I don't know how much of Vera's content that you've seen, because this has been public knowledge for a good while now.
I've watched like a good portion of her episode reviews. I watched some of her more general commentaries. I haven't seen much of her work. I haven't seen much of her work since 2018. But like, since when did she have a kid?
It's definitely come up here and there in her LGBTQIA videos.
Wait, Spider-Man now? Oh my god!
Oh, I never watched those. I gotta be honest.
I have a cat. Is that mind blowing?
While I was watching,
I have a Cyberman head.
I was watching Vera's content in tandem with fucking Bullstrick videos. I was a pretty big Bullstrick fan back in like 2019. I really
can I tell you all what is definitely going to be the next big culture war moment?
What?
When a white man regenerates into a black man.
Oh yeah. Oh, check this out.
That's going to be the next big thing.
I don't know.
I don't think if it's even going to be that big of a deal. To be honest.
I think the casting. I think they've probably got all of their reactions out of the way with the casting announcement. I think they're probably just going to be like, yeah, it's happened now when it happens.
I think that like that reactionary stuff is still going to be there, but I think the majority of the community has reached a point where we don't really need to pay attention anymore. I think it's just kind of going to fizzle off into the background, and I don't think it's going to be really relevant anymore.
Has anyone seen any?
Maybe I'm sheltered, but I did not see anywhere near as much vitriol for Shooty's announcement than I did.
There hasn't been.
I saw a little bit, but not as much.
Nowhere near as much. Like
there also hasn't been any NMD drama. There hasn't been any NMD drama.
Well, I mean, there probably has. I think it's just as George said, we all just stopped caring. We all just like
they're in all
because we were just kind of. Because we were just kind of having the same arguments and discussions over and over again, and I think we all just reached kind of reached a point where it's like, it's not really worth it anymore. Now we all just kind of do our own thing. I think it's just kind of going to fizzle off into the background and not really.
Happy Doctor Who friends. Speaking of this, how do we feel about the regeneration into David Tennant? Because that's
into Avid Tennant.
Into Avid Tennant.
I'm gonna hear out all your takes first because I'm very interested.
Can I do mine? All right, do you want to, if Blair wants to do his, or
I don't. I'm like fine with it. What I really want to know is I just really want to know what Livy thinks about it. I really want to hear what she has to say.
No one knows who Livy is here, Blair.
I'm talking.
I know who Livy is.
I know who they are. I follow them on Twitter. Wait, are they? Is it she, her? Is it she, her? I follow her on Twitter.
You do, and the fairies do.
She unfollowed me for some reason. I don't know why.
Tell you what I think would be very interesting is if the Doctor has regenerated into David Tennant, the actor.
Yeah.
There is an actor in this world called David Tennant, and
because I swear I'm going mad about this. But does it sound to any of you like he's doing a slightly different voice? deliberately.
I don't think so.
If he is, I didn't pick up on it.
I think he's just like, what, 15 years older?
Maybe it is just that he's older. I don't know. It almost seems like
that's not his real voice.
It almost seems like he's poshened it up a little bit. I don't know. Maybe no, because like he's been doing the character on Big Finish for like an eternity since. So that's. I don't know. I think it does sound a bit deliberately different. But to get my thoughts on Tenet across, because I feel like I've got the most, unapologetically positive spin on it. I guess. I think it's perfect for an anniversary. I think the idea of using a past Doctor as a springboard to reintroduce a new one through some regeneration shenanigans with like a legacy villain is literally the perfect way to handle an anniversary. Because ideally, what you want an anniversary to do is harken back to the past while ushering in the future. Because there's that bit when they're talking about the 50th in one of the behind the scenes bits where they're like, we've got to set the precedent for the next 100 years. That's what we've got to do. That was by Stephen Moffat, by the way. That's what this seems like it's doing to me. It's using.
I've got a couple things to say. I don't actually know what my opinion is. I'm actually very, very conflicted. I actually don't know, but I will say it's come at like a very interesting time, because if it ever was, if any era of the show was going to do this sort of thing, degenerate into an older Doctor, it was going to be present day New Who. It was going to be the era of New Who that exists in this current era of the media landscape, where so much of it is founding on, like holding up the iconic parts of existing famous IP and references and like iconic imagery. Like if it was ever gonna happen, it was gonna happen in 2022. So it's kind of like, again, you can think what you want about the actual choice, but like I feel like it was going to be inevitable to happen at some point, and I think if it was ever going to happen, then may as well just get it out of the way. So this is the era that was going to do it.
I understand. I just want to say briefly, I understand. Like, I completely get why, from like an optics and in the long tradition of Doctor Who perspective, why people would dislike it, because the whole gimmick of the show up to now is like each regeneration is a step forward. We move forward with a new Doctor. However,
exactly what Livy said about RT.
However, I personally think you've got to think it's literally an anniversary year. So it's the 1 year where Doctor Who can get away with doing this kind of shit without us rolling our eyes, going, "Oh, come on," It's. But also beyond that, I think if we're being realistic, and obviously I want to get my marketing hat on, I guess. If we're being realistic, the show has not been in the best state for some time now, if we're being honest with ourselves. And can you imagine the pressure on Ncuti Gatwa to relaunch the show on his own on the 60th anniversary year? That'd have been really.
When you look at it like that, it does make sense. Yeah,
it would have been really, really unfair on him.
It'd be a big gamble to give a brand new Doctor an anniversary special as their very first outing.
Using Tennant as kind of a way as to not only bring back the people who perhaps stopped watching with him, but also as a means to sort of help ease new people in is I think probably the best thing they could have done under the circumstances.
Well, you know what? If I may counter that for a second, we talk about how it's unfair, and I don't necessarily agree with that. But that's the thing; that doesn't necessarily mean that it could not be done. It could be pulled off. So there's no reason why it could not be done.
No, I guess as well. But I guess there's also the fact of just we know that Ncuti has been busy with others. I know that he is in the 60th now, that's been confirmed. But I still, I still doubt he's got a major role. Given how busy he already is. So to me, just having Tennant there to fill the gap for a year, I'm okay with it.
So my assumption is that it's similar to the headspace that 13 had with previous Doctors in it. I'm hoping previous Doctors are still there, but Ncuti is in that space now, trying to break through because he is the actual next Doctor and Tennant isn't.
It's quite funny. It's quite funny how the classic Doctors in this episode that we've just talked about go, once you've crossed that line, you can never come back.
Well, that was clearly written before this bit, wasn't it?
Yeah, I know.
But so no, we've got.
I saw someone on Twitter make an edit of
I've seen that.
Walking past it behind them to the exit.
So about this regeneration, I would like to say that I think as a piece of art, this episode existing on its own. As a piece of art, this regeneration is the final nail in the coffin, right? Of fuck off. Because what we've got is we've got an episode which brings back everything. Just because, right? We have the Daleks who are in this story, let's be honest, because you know what the Daleks are, and we can't have a big Doctor Who episode without the Daleks. And the Cybermen, and the Master as well. And then all of these old Doctors are being paraded around, and all these old companions are being paraded around. And finally, you get to the end, Regeneration, the one thing where I was like, okay, we've celebrated all that old stuff, now it's time for something new. And it's like, oh no, actually, here's something old again, right? I hate that. Except the context outside of the show, which I know because I'm keeping up to date with the news, is that this is done for a reason with a plan. By someone who didn't write the rest of that whole like nostalgia bait. Look at how great. Remember old stuff. Do you remember old things? Do you remember old things? The person who wrote all of that didn't put this here, so I'm okay with it. But I'm only okay with it because of metatextual reasons and not because of the episode. I think is bad.
Well, it's because I've made this point in videos before. Doctor Who is not a show anymore. It's a celebrity gossip column.
Yeah.
I mean, was it never not that to an extent?
What you basically described was my YouTube channel.
Yes.
The show only exists to give Thary's content.
And you know what? I love it.
Because the metatextual element is something that I was aware of throughout the entire thing. Like, I got my most liked tweet ever the other day. I've never had a tweet that got over 1,000 likes before, where I posted that.
I made a tweet about Rick and Morty incest, and it got like 100,000.
We've seen the incest tweet, Blair.
Yeah, I just put Yaz. What? Wait, why do I have to leave just because you're regenerating? I could stay with you for the next incarnation, right? And then the Doctor says contracts and shit. And that's basically exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. You have to leave, Yaz, because your contract is up.
Yeah.
I just wish that there'd have been a reason in narrative for it, like beyond just I have to go now.
I would go full meta on it and get the Doctor to bring out. Look at the companion contract that you signed.
No, what I would have done is, it was like, oh, you want to? The Doctor goes, oh, you want to support me? Okay. The Doctor regenerates into David Tennant on a cliff, and Yaz just goes, just walks away.
I would love that.
You regenerated on the Windows 10 cliff? Oh, God.
I was also just saying, you're a guy. Like, no. Bye.
Jay, there's something I want to tell you. I want to ask you.
Okay.
For the past year or so, you kept referencing these major leaks, and that you had a big source that you never mentioned to me because you said you didn't want anyone else knowing. So those major leaks that you kept telling me about, did they come true?
Yes. Let's move on.
Tell me the content of the leak. Tell me what specifically.
No, I'll tell you this. I'll tell you the content of the leaks off the stream, Blair.
Yeah, when like 900 people aren't watching us.
Yeah, there's an etiquette to these things. There's an etiquette to these things.
You want to like do some gaming after this?
Maybe.
Be asking like in the middle of stream, but you want to like.
All right, you just make an evening plan while we're still streaming. All right.
I'm gonna try to drag Michelle into this. I'm gonna try to.
I might just go to bed.
I've got to go to bed. I've got work in the morning.
Also, to Silly915, yes, Clara and Rose were over 2 Doctors, but they were still within the same showrunner's tenure, so they were able to carry him over. Whereas for this, we're swapping showrunners, so it's a little bit more complicated.
I think RTD might have been able to keep Yaz if he wanted, but I don't think he did.
They could have just killed Yaz. They could have just killed Yaz. Fucking kill her. I'm gonna lose this thing. I'm gonna lose this.
I kind of want to like staying on the topic of the regeneration. I kind of want to loop back around to something you said earlier, Tharies, and I think I mentioned this in my video about like when RTD was coming back. A lot of people, like when they had an issue with the concept, they were saying things like, yeah, but the show's got to be all about like moving forward. It's got to be all about like, you know, embracing change. So like to take us back to an older Doctor kind of goes against that. But here's the thing. Those two things can coexist. You can go back to old things and you can still do new things with them. And like that's why I'm really happy that we're in the hands of RTD, because I'm confident that he would have the standards to do new things with it.
What's happened now is new.
Yeah.
We've never had a Doctor not just go into the next one.
Well, exactly, yeah.
That is a different
That in
thing.
itself is a new thing, yeah. And there's a lot of potential to be told, like story potential to be told with the fact that for the first time ever, we've degenerated into an older Doctor. That in itself has new story potential.
You can say that it's cynical and commercial if you want, and I can totally understand that perspective. And to an extent, I kind of agree. Like there is definitely a commercial element to it, as I said, but equally, it is still something new. The idea, because we know that Shooty's in it as well. So this like weird limbo state between Doctors is interesting. It's novel. It's different, and I'm interested to see how it's handled.
Yeah, it's like we know who the next couple of Doctors are going to be, but we have no idea like how like the progression between them is going to play out, and that in itself is new and it is exciting, and I'm really looking forward to how it's going to play out. Like I don't know how you can be excited by that.
Gonna exterminate.
All right.
Yeah, I've got to do that as well. I've got work.
I don't know what.
All right. So
and just like the episode, we're suddenly ending out of nowhere. Let's go. We really
Stewbag,
the end of the episode.
Stewbag to Stewbag.
So yes, this will be an end to the stream.
Barry's striped.
I was gonna sing the businessman song from fucking Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared as a way to send us off, but I never got the chance to do that.
When you meet a businessman, you must shake him by the hand.
When you meet a family man, you must shake him by the hand. When you meet
someone on my YouTube video just said they just.
If my boyfriend's watching this, it'll be sweet.
So everyone's channels are linked in the description.
Subscribe.
Check out the one you like the most.
I barely have any. I need more.
To contribute, it was worthless, but thanks for having me.
Yeah. I'm so sorry, Betel. I'm so sorry.
I thought it would be funny to get your reaction to things like the part where Ace said, "Last time I saw you, you were a cat," with no context.
But we never got to that point.
I wanted to explain that to my mom, but I decided against it.
I have to go now. My planet needs me.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
And thank you.
All right, there's 5 of us.
4 of us. I guess before we end the stream, I guess we should cover other Doctors' inclusions.
Are we still going? Oh fuck!
Those are the only good scenes. The only good scenes were when 5 talked to T.
Well, what about the other scene where they talk about crossing the boundary, where the Doctor goes into a headspace and there's like all of these other.
I love those scenes.
Oh, it was funny. It was funny watching.
And I don't know if I already said this. I don't know if I already said this. I think I did, but like the way they've done this here with the past Doctors was a really smart way to integrate them. Like even with the AI thing, and I do love the scenes where the through the AI the older Doctors are talking to their companions and giving them some closure. Although I did like obviously the reference to Adric, but the way in which it was done was so awkward because it's literally just like the fifth Doctor just literally says his name.
Yeah,
it's just tantamount going, hey, remember that friend we had who was a literal child and he fucking died? Do you remember?
How old is Adric actually?
Like 16, 17?
Yeah, mid-teens, something like that.
Really sad. That's really sad. I've never seen classic.
Earthshock.
I can't fucking believe it. It fucking vanished again. Die, fucking.
No. But yeah, I do genuinely love those scenes. They probably were, to be honest, the best part of the story, in fairness. And I mean, maybe that's for superficial reasons, but also I doubt many people are going to disagree with me on that. So.
Well, yeah.
I
disagree. I don't think that I think that dialogue was pretty decent, right? I think that what they were saying to the 13th Doctor is probably what they should have said, pretty much.
They felt in character.
I felt that Colin in particular got shortchanged. David Bradley was there. Like, it was nice that he was there and he was the first one to show up, him playing the first Doctor and all, but he's not an original mainline Doctor. He is a recast, and like, I feel like if anyone's going to get shortchanged or less dialogue, it's reasonable for it to be the guy who's not actually the original but is a stand-in for it.
Yeah, that does make sense. I will say I did love the gag with McGann, where it's like he refuses to wear the robe.
Yeah,
and, like he has that witty one-liner. That was really good.
McGann got that, which I think made him stand out.
Yeah.
Even though he was just in the headspace and he had far fewer scenes, he didn't have the same like.
So was Colin Baker.
Level of attention. Well, exactly.
Symbolic.
So like
I can see it being kind of symbolic why they gave it to him, because like obviously he was the Doctor who out of the other classic ones who didn't get as much screen time as the others, so it makes sense why they give a gag to him. I think that was nice.
So like he got that, which made him kind of stand out in the headspace, and obviously 5 and 7 got scenes which are entirely they're just in this episode twice, completely irrelevant to each different inclusion, right? There are 2 ways in which the 5th Doctor and the 7th Doctor are included in this episode, being the holograms and the headspace. But they both get that, and then Old 60s just gets to deliver like some of the lines in the headspace, and that's it, right? He doesn't get anything that's particularly unique to him. He doesn't get like a particular character moment for his Doctor. He's just sort of also one of the guys who is there.
Well, what they could have done is, because we did get Mel back, they could have also added Mel to the trio of like Ace and Tegan, so the 6th Doctor could have had a scene like that, but then that would have come at the cost of overstuffing it even more.
Well, just cut the Daleks.
Even more time.
Or, you know what I would also like to see?
It was so stupid. I thought that was Nisa. I didn't think that I did.
Nah, it was Mel. It was Mel.
Maybe because I've seen like 2 Mel stories and 1 Nisa story, so like 3 Mel stories.
That's a good point, actually. Do you reckon it would have been possible to bring Nissa back? Like, do you reckon they tried to reach out to Sarah Sutton and like?
Well, I don't think she was left on Earth.
Well, that's the thing, though, because she wasn't originally from Earth, was she? She was from Traken. I mean, does Traken have space travel? Like, could that have been a thing? Like, could she have come to Earth?
Traken isn't around.
Be with Tegan or something. I haven't seen the Keeper of Traken or Logopolis or Castroval yet.
I've never even seen the stories. I just agreed with you on something I have no basis on.
I haven't seen Keeper of Traken, Logopolis, and Castrovalva, so I'm missing some details.
I just realized that Metal Commander's here.
Hello, Metal Commander.
He hasn't.
Of all of the.
He hasn't said anything.
Oh, Nissa was on Terminus.
That's because
yeah,
you
of course.
were
I've seen
talking about
Terminus.
all this context that I don't have.
Well, of all of the old guys, that you knew nothing about, Metal. Of all of the old guys you knew nothing. Well, I thought it would be funny, and in places it was, but I also feel bad because he spent several hours just sort of here. Not saying very much, but Metal, I want to ask you, of all of the random old guys who you didn't know who were, which was your favorite?
The guy in the volcano?
Oh,
that old guy. The other
Bradley
Walsh,
yes.
I didn't exclude that old guy.
Nah, so... Bradley Walsh is an amazing random old guy. He's probably the best random old guy.
Graham doesn't count as a random old guy. He's a relevant old guy. We're talking
even
about
the not old guys are random to me in this show.
I talking about Graham. We're talking about Bradley Walsh, and Bradley Walsh is the GOAT.
Some of them clearly had roles in the story, right? Like, you know, some of them did actually serve a purpose, where some of them were just like, "Hey, I'm here now. Goodbye."
I'm so jealous of Christina Pritchard. I want me a Bradley Walsh action figure, and I want someone to build me the Chase playset so I can play the Chase.
I will say that the support. I think we've already done this, but the support group was genuinely a really great way to.
Oh yeah.
Oh, phenomenal scene. I loved it. That was a great touch to the ending.
It would have been, and if this was the last episode of Doctor Who, it would have been a lovely one for the last scene of Doctor Who. I'd have been happy with it.
That was.
Yeah, I loved
that. That was really good. As like that was probably the best modern Regeneration preamble. I'm calling Regeneration preamble like the speech or Tennant, you know, taking off his coat.
Except for Parting of the Ways, but like,
would you? Oh yeah, Parting of the Ways.
Like,
Parting of the Ways is phenomenal.
Yeah, I really don't like the overindulgent like 5-minute speeches they give to. Moffat specifically would give to his doctors, and I was dreading the idea of the 13th Doctor having a 5-minute speech.
So like, I've been a really good doctor, you know, and here's some of my core values, like I'm a good person, you know, and like for the next one out there, here's some advice to come out, and here's a quote that you can slap on a T-shirt, and now I'm gonna do the thing. That sounds like something Justin Roiland would write. What I just did there. I feel so ashamed of myself. Yeah, you know, I'm the doctor. You know, I do things. I have a sonic screwdriver.
Oh jeez, yes, I don't think that's the best idea.
Yeah, I don't. Let's not. Now I'm just imagining what Justin Roiland's Doctor Who is, although basically Doctor Who and Rick and Morty have very similar base premises.
Shut up, Yaz. I'm not gonna explain shit to you, Yaz. You're fucking annoying me, Yaz.
Anyway.
Daleks, Yaz.
Anyway, I tell you what, it's nearly 11 p.m. So you know what? I'll make it easier for Metal to get some stuff in. I'm probably gonna bounce out now as well.
All right.
Man.
It's been fun.
There's
man.
only gonna be three of us, and,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
one of
but,
us is talking about.
Jay, thank you so much for having me. It's been a hell of
It
a
was
lot of
great
fun.
to-
I've really enjoyed it.
was great to
Audience, thank you so much for. Oh yeah, no, it's been a lot of fun. It's been great. It's
I'm
been
sorry
wonderful
for
talking
speaking
to Blair, and you know what? I didn't get to say this while they were in cool, but like that's my first time talking to Stu Bagful and talking to Vera. I genuinely fucking love those two, and I've been genuinely starstruck this whole time. I've been holding in like the urge to fangirl this whole time. Like genuinely, it's been so cool. It's been so fucking cool. But yeah, and thank you to the audience for willingly listening to a ramble that I was part of. And yeah, I'm tiny, so please give me subscribers. I'd really appreciate that.
Yes, give him
Link in the
subscribers.
description.
Right.
All right,
Every
enjoy the
speaking
rest
will
of
be
the
fine.
stream, guys. I'll see you around.
Boy.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.
All right.
You
I
should have
think.
let me have it.
So
You
so
should've
why
let me
why
have the
why
fan
why did
promo.
they turn all the
You should-
magma to I don't know, iron?
Well,
or
Nobody
whatever?
knows. That's none of us. I think this is a really fun thing that we can do now, Metal. I want you to ask us questions
like
that you
game
have,
now?
confusions that you have about the episode, stuff where you were just like, "What the fuck?"
Oh god.
And we will tell you whether or not there is actually an answer. We'll tell.
Alright.
We'll either be like, "Oh, that's because of this," or because it's like, "No, no one
Okay.
knows."
So I guess that iron it was iron, right?
Steel, I think.
Turned the fucking what was it?
Steel,
Steel. That's
or
convenient.
maybe iron.
That's gonna plummet the stock of the steel market for sure. It's like just everywhere now.
It's like no.
Or it's gonna help Indonesia. I don't know. We'll see. I
It
mean,
would
there's a lot
just- No, we don't know. It's unclear why that happened.
What other questions do you have? I'm sort of, my brain is sort of fogging up right now. Fuck, really?
Fuck.
I'm just swearing at GTA Online right
Yeah.
now. I've been playing this whole fucking time.
So we what else had happened? All right, we put the Death Star, the Cybermen Death Star. We put that from the past to the future.
Why was it in 1916?
Yeah.
I might have been gone.
I mean,
for
like
that
they
part.
had
Why
they
was
had a
it?
time machine. Oh, no, that was never explained really. It was just in
Maybe it was
1916.
Maybe
So
it was
they
because
used like the
needed
two
to-
TARDIS machines.
Maybe
One
they
of
need
them.
to charge it for like 100 years, but if they need to charge it for 100 years, why become Rasputin? Why not just just take it to the Glip Glop galaxy and just have it be there for 100 years and just time travel like 100 years in
Yeah.
the future? Like, there's no need to be Rasputin, you know?
Also, I guess there was a time in the 1916s where people were just looking at the skies like, oh, there's a really big floaty orb in the sky now.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
That's something that they should probably have dealt with the implications of, but they didn't really.
Hey, there's a guy with a bounty on them.
It's like, oh, that looks pretty, but is it dangerous? Oh, maybe it is. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, what else? What other fucking lore questions do you have?
I mean, I'm thinking, who's that fucked up Cyberman guy? Why
Oh,
That's
fun
doesn't-
fact.
why doesn't
Fun
he get
fact,
it-
Metal.
why doesn't he get a full suit of armor? That's kind of mean.
Fun fact, Metal. He's dead.
Yeah,
Well,
that was a
you-
quote of
He's
him.
just
Wait,
dead.
what?
In the last episode he appeared in, he died, and they just
Oh,
brought him
so-
back, and he might have missed it
Huh.
because it was a single line to justify his
Yeah.
inclusion. The master says at one point, "So glad I cloned you."
Yeah.
Oh, that's what he
thought
meant
so.
with that line.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's a real somehow
is it?
Palpatine returned. Like,
Yeah,
So-
that pissed me off. Why did he have to be a shot? He could have just been a
yeah, well, no,
differently
they
colored
didn't
shot.
even do anything with him. He was just around. He did nothing that
Yeah, it
you
was
couldn't
just
have a
in the-
normal
in the-
Cyberman do.
Was just there, so people were like, "Oh wow, I remember that."
I
What was that?
remember.
I remember the only good Chibnall era villain.
Did you
I
guys like that they put the whole facility to
Oh,
HQ
wait,
in
I forgot
lockdown
Zalin.
so nobody could?
I remember Glup shit.
No,
out.
I said
remember-
only good Chibnall era villain, and then I realized I forgot
Oh.
another one called Zalin. Sorry, continue, Metal.
Do you like how they shut down the whole HQ so nobody can get out, but then the two just escape through the front door before it collapses? That was great.
Oh my god, I didn't even realize that.
They just run out of the front door, and not a single Cyberman comes with them.
Oh, that's...
Yeah.
I didn't even think of that.
They just run out of the floor. It's like, oh, that was close.
Yeah, and then the thing that I noticed is that they just stop running like when the building is exploding, like right behind them. Like I feel like you probably want to get clear, to be honest.
Oh yeah, and also the point where they just shoot through the walls. I forgot her name. She just lets go of the ladder, and the next scene she's just in the basement.
Oh
What
yeah.
you see is like there's just a black abyss on the floor, and you're just like, oh, you're probably in pain or something. No, okay, guess not.
That they established danger for her, where like the Cybermen, like they clearly did that on purpose.
Yeah,
the Cybermen hear her through the wall, and they're like, oh, we'll kill her, and then they just don't deal. Like it's not for the story. That's just they don't deal with the consequences of that at all.
Yeah.
No,
Just
that's not
Cut
something
to her
that's
being
explained.
down there. That was great. I mean, that's not lore stuff. That's just things I noticed while watching the episode.
Are there any lines where you were just like, what the fuck?
I mean, that cat line was pretty funny, I guess. Without context, like last time I saw you were a cat, and I was like, huh?
Do you want me to show?
Yeah,
Do you want me to show you as a picture of what she's referring to?
I
Please
really
do
want.
so.
Should I explain that to my mom? Should I explain that cat line? It kind of feels too.
I think it's funnier just to show an image.
Remember that really obscure line, but she doesn't. But the problem is she won't. She doesn't know what Anthony Ainley's master looks like. That kind of.
Here's the same character, Metal, played by a different actor, but
Can you give like a really ridiculous looking image? That'll be enough of a reason to show it off.
Well, there it
like
is.
Fucking.
Look in chat.
Is there anything more ridiculous than that? I mean.
I don't think so.
I mean, just look at that picture. It could just be a demon, not necessarily.
No, specifically, he's got like cat DNA stuff going on in his body.
Like house cat, like house cat, or like tigers.
Cheetah people.
Do they have a tail now as well?
I mean, he doesn't get his ass out, so it's unclear.
Shame.
I have a question. Wasn't there another reference to cheetah people?
I don't remember one, but I mean, a lot of stuff in this just was like blink and you'll miss it, so it might have gone in my head. Metal, do you have any other outstanding questions?
Oh yeah, so the Doctor just goes through space and time all the time.
Yeah.
There's danger going around.
She's like Rick Sanchez, except better.
Oh.
All right, now before we go,
how are those mechanics on those, like time paradoxes and stuff? Is that a thing that gets addressed in these shows at all?
Sometimes it does.
Sometimes, that's more than I thought.
Yeah. Before we go, I'm gonna do super chats, and if any of these are specifically addressed to Stuart or any, I guess everyone else here, we'll wait for them. But all the others I'll do now.
Do it.
Hey Jay, you massive! I request a summary as a haiku. Thanks. That was a haiku, and so is this description. Glad you were streaming. Thank you. I don't think this is possible to summarize this episode in a haiku.
I think they're asking for like a Jax Films, Jax Films EI type thing.
Well, yeah, but like this episode has too much stuff to summarize in that number of syllables.
Currently in the barber shop, and this guy is like shooting inside of it, and it's not hitting me because I'm in the character customization menu. But as soon as I leave the character customization menu, they're gonna fucking kill me.
Simply don't leave.
With some type of gas. They're filling the room with some type of gas now. All right, continue.
The question isn't what's the power of the Doctor, but when's the power of the Doctor? Also, when you have to ask, not how bad was it, but when bad was it? What? I'm sorry, am I having a stroke? The question isn't what's the power of the Doctor, but when's the power of the Doctor? Also, you have to ask not how bad it was, but when bad it was. No, okay, that's what it says. It's a joke about that time travel line thing.
I just left the character customization menu. Oh no. No, I didn't.
So glad to catch this live. In my opinion, this was a relatively fun episode, but long for my attention span. Fun to see Jay and Vera on screen together. Yeah, just like seeing Ace and Yaz together, am I right?
I'm here too, sorry.
Which one are you, Ace or Yaz, Metal?
You want to see my ass? What?
Ace. Entertain this.
Do you know which character in the thing that you watched today was Ace?
That was the one with the bat.
Yeah. Do you know which one Yaz was?
Right.
I mean,
A+.
say that again.
Do you know which one Yaz was?
That's the one who got shafted at the end. Just like, fuck off. Thanks for the ice cream. Get banned.
Do you know which one? Okay, I'm gonna make these more and more difficult until you fail. Do you know which one Tegan was?
No.
All right, that was the first one. That was like one step down from Yaz. She was the Australian one. She was the one who said no.
No.
Tegan's Australian.
Yes.
Since when?
Since she's always been Australian.
Why am I saying since when? I've seen like one story with Tegan in it.
Was it Power of the Doctor?
No, it was the one with the Daleks, and it was
Power of the Doctor.
No, it was the part of the Dalek trilogy from the 80s where there's like black ones and white ones, and like one of them's called Regeneration.
No, I know which one. Yeah, that's the one that you've seen.
Yeah, with Pete Davidson. Yeah, Peter Davison. Yeah, that one.
We've got appreciate the fact that there are way too many guests here. I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah, I probably spoke over people sometimes. That happens when there are like a billion fucking people in here. Although in fairness, a lot of people spoke over me, so technically speaking, this is kind of a method of getting even. If you want to go there.
Just hit them in the face with a bat.
I can't hit them in the face. They're on a call.
Daleks have such wasted potential. The idea of them having various warring factions with different ideologies would make for such a good story. That story is called Remembrance of the Daleks. Go watch it.
You should watch it. It's about racism. The Daleks do segregation.
And finally, we have... Don't know if it's been mentioned, but I'm going to need a frame by frame of the volcanoes being cooled down because I'm remembering looking horrific. Yeah, it does look kind of weird. I guess we'll have a look. I can't do frame by frame.
No, weird. The effect of the Death Star exploding looked really fucking weird. It looked like something from a Blender tutorial.
Yeah. But anyway, thanks for tuning in, everyone. Everyone who appeared today is linked in the description with their channels and stuff that they do. Goodbye. Say goodbye.
Hey. Goodbye.
Ah!